My girlfriend is pregnant, so let's get a divorce. Get out of my sight, you 40-year-old who can't have kids, my husband said while holding his lover's shoulder. His lover stared at the ground, trembling. It was easy to understand why. Let me explain who I am. My name is Emery, and I'm a 40-year-old businesswoman. I've always been good at studying. After graduating from a top university, I started working for a foreign company. I worked in one of their offices abroad for many years. When I returned to the U.S., I was promoted to department head. I had a great career, and a wonderful personal life with my partner, Noah. Noah was my university classmate. We started dating when we were both 21. We spent a lot of time together in college, studying and getting to know each other. Our friendship turned into a romantic relationship when he confessed his feelings for me. We got married 3 years after graduation, just before I was sent to Japan for a 5-year work assignment. I was nervous about being long distance, but Noah was so serious about being with me. He quit his job and came to Japan with me. I was happy he was that committed, so I agreed to marry him. We lived in Japan, and I was busy with work. Noah worked part-time at a local restaurant. We often got free food from his job, so I didn't have to cook. It was great not having to worry about dinner every day, and we got to enjoy traveling around Japan on weekends. After 5 years, we returned to the U.S., where I started working at the main office of my company. I was busy again, but Noah, who had learned a lot about cooking in Japan, also worked at a restaurant back home. Everything was going well, except for one thing: we couldn't have children. We tried for years, but I couldn't get pregnant. Even after going through several fertility treatments, after 5 years, we gave up on having kids. We decided it would just be the two of us. Since we had spent so much time abroad, we hadn't seen much of the US, so we started traveling around, enjoying different foods and tourist spots. It was fun, and I dreamed of a happy future with Noah. Things were going well at work too. I was promoted to department head, and I had a great team to manage. Then, one day, I saw someone familiar among the new hires. "Lily, is that you?" "Huh, Auntie?" It was my niece. I hadn't seen her in 10 years. Last time, she was just a 6th grader, and now she was all grown up. I didn't expect her to be working here. "It's been so long. How's my sister? Is she still strict with you?" I asked. "Yeah, she's still strict. That's why I moved here after college," Lily replied. "I can't believe you work here," I said, surprised. "Yeah, I was shocked too," she answered. I then joked, "Are you a clerk or something?" She didn't seem happy with that question and replied in a way that made me feel like she was looking down on me. It seemed like she was trying to say I was too old to be working here. It made me wonder if I should teach her some manners. At the morning meeting, all the new employees introduced themselves. When it was Lily's turn, she spoke in a very polished way, saying, "There are so many young, cool, and reliable colleagues here. I'm excited to learn from them." The way she emphasized how young everyone was made me angry, but I kept it to myself. Afterward, I stood up to introduce myself to everyone. "I'm the department head, Emery. We really appreciate the fresh energy new employees bring. We'll make sure to help you learn everything, so don't worry about making mistakes. Just do your best." Everyone clapped after I finished speaking. My niece, Lily, stared at me with wide eyes, looking guilty. Later that day, during lunch break, Lily came over to talk to me. "Auntie, I'm sorry about what I said about being a part-time clerk. I didn't mean it." I asked, a bit sharply, "What are you sorry for?" "Well, I said the company is mostly full of young people." "You realized that was rude, huh?" "Yeah, I'm really sorry." I decided to forgive her, but I added, "I'll let it go this time, but if you act that way with others, like customers, it could cause problems." "I understand. I'm sorry." I was glad she understood her mistake. Then, I called my sister. "Wait, the company Lily is working at is yours?" she asked. "Did you forget? You're too focused on farming to remember anything else," I teased her. "Well, you're not completely wrong," she laughed. "I'm happy she's with you. Please keep an eye on her for me." "I will," I promised. After talking with my sister, I continued to teach Lily about the company, but I didn't treat her differently from the other new employees. "You made a mistake here. Be careful next time." "Got it, thanks," Lily responded eagerly. She always replied with energy, and I tried my best to guide her, but soon, I started to realize something about Lily. One rainy day, I went to the break room to heat up my lunch. I overheard Lily talking with some of the other new female employees. I wasn't planning to listen, but then I heard Lily say something that shocked me. "That old lady is so annoying. I'm sick of her." At first, I wasn't sure if she meant me or someone else, but then she continued. "She's my mom's younger sister, so I guess it makes sense that she's like this." I couldn't believe it. She was talking about me. Why is she still working full-time if she's married? I can't stand women like her who keep working like this when they're that old. I felt my heart drop. How could Lily say something so mean? Here I was, trying my best to teach her kindly, and she thought so badly of me. I had been strict with her at times, but I never crossed any lines. Why would she talk about me like this? She acted like a good girl in front of me, but hearing how she spoke behind my back really hurt. After her training period, Lily had to start working on her own, but she kept making mistake after mistake, being careless, and causing problems for everyone. It got so bad that even the male staff started getting frustrated with her. I couldn't believe how someone like Lily even got hired. She graduated from a prestigious university, but her memory was terrible. I started to wonder if her academic record was even true. My colleagues and I had to spend a lot of time fixing her mistakes, and it made everyone busier than usual. At the same time, my relationship with my husband, Noah, was falling apart. "Another late night? Yeah, sorry, please eat without me." "Fine, I already made dinner for both of us. Sorry, I'll eat the leftovers when I get home." Noah wasn't happy that I kept staying late at work. When I got home, he was usually in a bad mood. Sometimes, he was already in bed. Since he worked in the restaurant industry, his weekends were always busy, and he'd often go drinking with his coworkers after work, coming home past midnight. Because of this, we were spending less and less time together. I never thought things would end up like this after we had gotten along so well for so long. Meanwhile, Lily was causing even more problems at work. She started taking regular time off, claiming she didn't feel well. Even though she made constant mistakes, she could still do some tasks, but by taking so many days off, other people had to take over her work, and everyone had to work more overtime. As department head, I didn't know what to do. Between work and my personal life, I was completely drained. Then, my husband did something unbelievable. It was a weekend. I had just finished dinner and was relaxing at home when Noah finally came in around 11 p.m. As he entered the living room, I noticed someone was following him. "Welcome home." "Oh, we have a guest," I said, looking at the person behind him. It was someone I never expected to see. She had a smug look on her face, but as soon as she saw me, her face went pale. Noah didn't seem to notice anything and began speaking. "This is my girlfriend." "Huh?" "Yeah, and I've decided to marry her." "Wait, what? Marry her?" "Don't be too shocked. She's pregnant with my child." "Excuse me?" "I'm going to take responsibility and marry her. She's only 18 years old, after all." "What, 18? Don't misunderstand. She's graduated high school and is of legal age. This is a legal relationship, and her pregnancy proves that I don't have any issues," he said, looking at me. "It's your fault we couldn't have a baby," he added, as if it was my fault. "My girlfriend is pregnant, so let's get a divorce. Get out of my sight, you infertile 40-year-old, Noah said, wrapping his arm around his lover's shoulders. But his lover, Lily, stared at the ground, shaking uncontrollably. Her reaction was completely understandable. "What is going on, Lily?" I asked. Noah was shocked. "You know Lily?" I couldn't help but laugh. "You two never met after we got married, did you?" "Lily is my niece. She's my sister's daughter." "No way, you two are related?" Noah said, looking back and forth between us in disbelief. Lily kept her head down. "I don't know why she lied to you, but Lily is 22 years old and works at my company." "What?" Noah stammered. I could see he was in shock, but I was shaken, too, by everything being revealed. "Wait, you're not 18? He asked, completely stunned. It turned out they had met on a dating app, which was gross enough, considering Noah was already married. They met up, and Noah acted like a sugar daddy to her. "Don't call me a sugar daddy. I was just helping her because she didn't have money." "It doesn't matter what you call it. You admitted to having an affair and now you want a divorce. You'll have to pay me alimony for this." "Well, I guess I have no choice. It doesn't matter if Lily lied about her age. She's pregnant, and I need to take responsibility." I agree that's noble, but it doesn't change the fact that you had an affair. As for me being infertile, I've had tests, and I'm fine. I should be able to get pregnant without any problem. Usually, they don't recommend fertility tests for men, and I didn't want to pressure you, but have you ever thought about getting tested? Huh? She lied to you about her age and other things. Don't you think you should get a paternity test? What? Are you saying Lily betrayed me? Noah seemed unsure about trusting Lily, but she couldn't say anything because she was still shocked that I was his wife. I stepped forward and spoke clearly. I'm going to tell my sister what you did, and we'll report this to the company. I've put up with a lot, but I can't anymore. You complained about me behind my back and called me an annoying old lady. You're terrible at your job. You lied about your age on a dating app, and you caused too many problems. Even if you don't get fired, you won't have any support left. Lily's face turned even paler. If you understand, leave. This apartment is in my name, and when we divorce, you have no right to stay here. Noah, pale-faced, packed his bags and left. I hired a lawyer, sent divorce papers to Noah, and demanded compensation for the damages from both Noah and Lily. Lily's affair became a huge topic at work, since she made so many mistakes and caused so many issues. Her salary was cut, and she was moved to a distant office. Lily couldn't handle it and quit. She had worked hard to get the job, but she barely lasted a few months. It was all for nothing. Well, she got what she deserved. Lily had studied hard to leave the countryside and get into a good university, but once she got there, she became lazy. She used her looks to get other students to do her work while she skipped classes and partied. She still graduated, but she was lazy and useless at her job. Even with good grades and a degree from a good university, she wasn't good at her job. Of course, I told my sister everything. She was furious and brought Lily back to the countryside. Now, Lily has to help on the farm every day and uses almost all of her money to pay me back. She only gets a small allowance for herself. By the way, it turns out the father of Lily's child wasn't Noah. She had other men supporting her, but when she got pregnant, they all left. Noah was the only one who believed the baby was his and said they should be together, but once he found out the baby wasn't his, he left her too. My sister is now helping Lily raise her child, which is partly why she brought her back to the countryside. I hope Lily changes a little after becoming a mother. Noah is still working at the restaurant, but his life is tough. He's struggling to pay what he owes me, living alone and constantly worrying about his debt. As for me, I'm focused on my career. I keep my employees in check and work hard every day. My worries are gone, and I hope from now on, I can live a fulfilling life. Thank you for watching.
The sound of Alice's manicured nails drumming against Mom's old coffee table made my skin crawl. She'd been doing it for 10 minutes straight, while we waited for Dad and Zion to show up for what she called the family meeting. I knew exactly what this was about, and my stomach had been in knots since I got her text yesterday. My name is Denise, and I'm about to watch my family destroy the only place that ever felt like home. Where the hell are they? Alice muttered, checking her Rolex for the third time. At 38, my older sister had perfected the art of looking perpetually annoyed. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that severe bun she wore to intimidate people at her marketing firm, and she was dressed like she'd just stepped out of a boardroom instead of sitting in our childhood living room. I curled deeper into Mum's faded floral armchair, the one Alice had already declared hideous and probably infested with something. The fabric was worn thin in places, but it still smelled faintly of Mum's lavender perfume if you knew where to breathe. I did. They'll be here, I said quietly, running my fingers along the chair's armrest where Mum used to rest her coffee cup every morning while she read the paper. God, Denise, you're 35. Stop acting like a child clinging to her security blanket. Alice's voice had that sharp edge it always got when she looked at me. This house is falling apart. The roof leaks, the foundation is cracking, and the plumbing is from the Stone Age. It just needs some work. Work that costs money none of us have. She stood up and walked to the window, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors Dad had installed himself 20 years ago. Well, money you don't have anyway. There it was, the reminder that I was the family failure, the one who chose a government job over climbing some corporate ladder. The one who couldn't afford to buy out my siblings' shares of the house, even if I sold everything I owned. The front door slammed, and Zion's voice boomed through the hallway. Sorry! Traffic was insane! My brother appeared in the doorway, all 6'2" of him, with that easy smile that had been charming people since we were kids. At 36, he still looked like he could be starring in some cologne commercial. Dad shuffled in behind him, looking smaller than I remembered. At 62, he'd aged a decade in the 6 months since Mum died. His shoulders were permanently hunched now, like he was carrying invisible weight. Hey, Dad. I started to get up to hug him, but Alice was already talking. Finally, sit down, both of you. We need to get this settled. Zion dropped onto the couch and immediately put his feet up on the coffee table. So, what's the verdict, sis? How much are we looking at? The realtor thinks we can get $450, maybe $500 if we're lucky. The lot alone is worth $350 because of the lake access. My heart clenched. They were talking about Mom's house like it was just another transaction. That's fantastic, Zion said, grinning. Split 4 ways, that's what, over $100,000 each? I can finally get that boat I've been wanting. 3 ways, Alice corrected. Dad's keeping his share for now. I found my voice. What about keeping it in the family? This is where we grew up. Where Mom, what? Alice whirled around to face me. Where she struggled to pay the bills? Where she cried herself to sleep after the divorce because she couldn't afford the mortgage payments? You want to honor her memory by letting this place rot? That's not what I meant. My voice came out smaller than I intended. I just think we should talk about other options. Maybe I could take over the payments, or we could rent it out. Zion laughed. Actually laughed. Denise, honey, you can barely afford your studio apartment. How are you going to maintain a 4-bedroom house on a county salary? The pity in his voice was worse than Alice's contempt. At least she was honest about thinking I was pathetic. I could get a loan. With what collateral? Alice's eyebrows shot up. Your 10-year-old Honda? Face it, Denise, you're being emotional instead of practical. Again. Dad finally spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we should listen to what Denise has to say. Dad, with all due respect, you haven't made a decision about anything since Mom died. Alice said, not unkindly, but firmly. That's why we're here. Someone has to be the adult. I looked around the room, at the mantel where our school photos still sat in their mismatched frames, at the kitchen doorway where Mom used to lean while she called us for dinner, at the staircase where Zion and I used to slide down the banister until Dad threatened to nail our feet to the floor. I vote we keep it, I said. I vote we sell, Alice said immediately. Sell, Zion agreed. All eyes turned to Dad. He looked at me with something that might have been apology, then down at his hands. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I just can't. I can't handle the upkeep anymore. 3-1. Just like that, it was over. Alice was already pulling out her phone. I'll call the realtor tomorrow. We can have it listed by the weekend. I stood up slowly, collecting the coffee cups nobody had touched. My hands were steady, which surprised me. I'll clean up. Thanks, Dee, Zion said, already heading for the door. This is really for the best, you know. Mom would want us to be practical. Alice gathered her purse and coat. I'll handle all the paperwork. You don't need to worry about any of the details. Because I was too incompetent to handle details, apparently. After they left, I stood alone in Mum's kitchen, washing cups that didn't need washing. Through the window, I could see the lake where we'd spent every summer, the dock where Dad taught us to fish, the old oak tree where Mum used to read to us on lazy afternoons. They thought I was powerless. They thought I was just the sentimental little sister who couldn't accept reality. They had no idea what I was capable of. The next morning, I sat in my cubicle at the County Planning Commission, staring at the stack of wetland assessment reports I'd been compiling for the past 3 years. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but I couldn't bring myself to get up and reheat it. "You look like someone ran over your dog," Hadley said, appearing at my desk with 2 fresh cups from the break room. At 35, she was the only person at work who treated me like an actual human being, instead of just another bureaucrat pushing papers. "Thanks." I took the coffee gratefully. "Family meeting last night." "About the house?" She perched on the edge of my desk, lowering her voice. "What happened?" "They voted to sell. 3-1. "Shit, Denise. I'm sorry." I pulled up a file on my computer screen. Aerial photos of the property dating back 15 years. "Look at this." Hadley leaned closer. "Is that your mom's place? See this area here?" I pointed to a section behind the house where the land dipped toward the lake. "And this marshy spot by the old dock?" "Yeah? Seasonal wetlands. I've been documenting them since I started working here." I clicked through folder after folder of photographs, water level measurements, and species documentation. Every spring, this whole area floods. Migratory birds nest here. There's a family of great blue herons that's been coming back for at least a decade. Hadley's eyes widened. "You've been building a case. For 3 years." I opened another file. Soil composition reports, drainage patterns, wildlife surveys. I even got the state environmental office to do an independent assessment last fall. Holy shit! Does your family know? They think I'm just the pathetic little sister who can't let go of mommy's house. I clicked to the final folder. They have no idea I've been positioning myself to have authority over this exact type of designation. "Denise." Hadley's voice was barely a whisper. "You could make their property undevelopable. I could protect it, the way Mom would have wanted." My phone buzzed with a text from Alice. "Meeting with lawyer at 2 p.m. Be there." "I have to go," I told Hadley, grabbing my jacket. "They want me to sign paperwork." "Are you really going to do this? They're your family." I looked at her for a long moment. "They stopped treating me like family a long time ago. The law office smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Micah Freeman had been Alice's friend since college, and his success showed in every piece of furniture and every perfectly pressed suit. He stood up when I walked in, extending his hand with that practiced smile lawyers perfected. "Denise, good to see you. Please, sit." Alice was already there, of course, looking impatient. "Where's Zion?" "Running late," I said, settling into the chair across from Micah's massive desk. "We can start without him." Micah opened a thick folder. "This is pretty straightforward. Standard property sale agreement, with the proceeds split equally among the 4 heirs." He slid a document across the desk. "I just need your signature on page 12. I flipped through the pages slowly, reading every line while Alice drummed her fingers on the armrest. The language was dense, full of legal terminology, but I understood enough. They were selling to Lucas Development Group for $475,000. "Who's Gerard Lucas?" I asked. "Big resort developer," Micah said. "He's planning some kind of luxury lakefront property. Condos, maybe a small hotel. It'll be good for the local economy." "A resort?" I kept my voice neutral. "Right on the lake." "Prime real estate," Alice added. "We're lucky he's interested." I found page 12 and stared at the signature line. My name was typed neatly underneath. Denise Hansen. "Any questions?" Micah asked. "Just one." I looked up at him. "What happens if there are environmental issues with the property?" Alice rolled her eyes. "There aren't any environmental issues, Denise. It's just a house and some trees." "I'm just being thorough," I said, hypothetically. Micah leaned back in his chair. "Well, if significant environmental concerns were discovered after the sale, it could complicate development plans. But we've done our due diligence. The property is clean. And if it were designated as protected wetlands? That would be a problem," he admitted. "But there's no indication of any wetland issues. The county would have flagged that during the initial assessment. I nodded and picked up the pen. Good to know. Alice watched me sign my name with visible relief. Finally, I was starting to think you were going to be difficult about this. I'm not difficult, I said, sliding the document back across the desk. I'm just careful. Zion burst through the door just as I was standing up. Sorry. Did I miss anything important? Just Denise signing off on the sale, Alice said. You're next. Awesome. Zion grabbed the pen without even reading the document. Where do I sign? I watched him scrawl his signature with the same careless confidence he'd had his whole life. The same confidence that made him assume he could just waltz in and claim his share of Mom's house without a second thought. That's it then, Micah said, gathering the papers. I'll file these with the court tomorrow. Settlement should be in about 30 days. Perfect, Alice said, already checking her phone. I've got to get back to work. Denise, do you need a ride? I'm good. I have some errands to run. Outside the law office, I sat in my car for a few minutes, watching Alice drive away in her BMW. Then, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. State Environmental Protection Agency. This is Janet. Hi, Janet. It's Denise from County Planning. I need to file an emergency wetland designation. I have all the documentation ready. How urgent are we talking? I looked back at the law office, where Micah was probably already calling Gerard Lucas with the good news. I need it processed today. 2 weeks later, I was organizing Mom's recipe box when my phone rang. Alice's name flashed on the screen. Did you see the newspaper? She said without preamble. Good morning to you too. Page 3, business section. There's an article about the sale. I walked to my front door and grabbed the paper from the steps. Sure enough, there it was. Local family sells lakefront property to resort developer. The historic Hanson property will be transformed into a luxury resort featuring 24 condominiums and a boutique hotel. I read aloud. Construction is expected to begin this fall. Isn't it exciting? Gerard's really going all out. He's talking about a spa, a marina, maybe even a golf course if he can acquire the adjacent lots. My stomach twisted. A golf course? I know, right? Property values in the whole area are going to skyrocket. We're getting out at the perfect time. After she hung up, I sat on Mom's front porch, staring at the article. There was a photo of Gerard Lucas shaking hands with some city council members, all of them grinning like they'd won the lottery. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Can I come over? Mum's being impossible. 20 minutes later, Alice's 16-year-old daughter was sitting next to me on the porch swing, her dark hair falling across her face as she scrolled through her phone. She's already picked out new furniture, Emily said, for a house she hasn't even bought yet. What kind of house? Some McMansion in Riverside Estates, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a 3-car garage. Emily made a gagging sound. She keeps talking about how we'll finally have proper space for entertaining. And how do you feel about that? Emily was quiet for a moment, pushing the swing with her toe. I don't want to leave. All my friends are here. And this house... She gestured toward the front door. Grandma taught me to bake in that kitchen. Remember when we made those terrible Christmas cookies last year? I smiled. They weren't that terrible. They were basically hockey pucks, but she was so patient, even when I burned the second batch. Emily's voice got smaller. Mom never has time for stuff like that. Your mom's busy with work. She's busy with everything except me. Emily tucked her legs under her. Did you know she's already enrolled me in some fancy private school? Without even asking what I thought? Before I could respond, a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Zion climbed out, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Hey, kiddo, he called to Emily. What are you doing here? Visiting Aunt Denise. Is that illegal now? He laughed and bounded up the porch steps. Just checking on our investment, making sure the place is still standing. It's not your investment yet, I said. 30 days, sis, then we're all rich. He peered through the front window. You know, I was thinking we should probably clear out all the furniture before Gerard's people do their final walkthrough. Some of this stuff might be worth something. Like what? Mum's china cabinet, that antique desk in the study, maybe some of the jewelry. He turned to Emily. Your mum said you might want some of Grandma's things for your new room? Emily's face darkened. I don't want a new room. Come on, Em. You'll love the new house. Your mum's getting you one of those fancy walk-in closets. I don't care about a closet. Zion looked confused, like he couldn't understand why anyone wouldn't be excited about a bigger house. Well, you'll change your mind once you see it. After he left, Emily and I walked down to the lake. The water was still and clear, reflecting the late afternoon sky. A great blue heron stood motionless in the shallows, waiting for fish. Look, I whispered, pointing. Emily pulled out her phone and took a picture. Grandma loved those birds. She used to sit on the dock every morning with her coffee, watching for them. Mom wants to sell the dock too. She says it's a liability. We sat on the weathered boards, our feet dangling in the cool water. Emily was quiet for a long time, just watching the heron. Aunt Denise? Yeah? Do you think Grandma would be okay with selling the house? I considered the question carefully. I think your grandma would want what's best for the family, but what if what's best for the family isn't what's best for the house? Smart kid. Too smart for her own good, probably. What do you mean? I mean, what if keeping the family together isn't worth destroying the place that made us a family in the first place? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Janet from the State Environmental Office. Denise, I have good news. The emergency wetland designation went through. The paperwork is being filed as we speak. That's great, I said, walking away from Emily. When does it take effect? Immediately. The property is now officially protected under state environmental law. No development, no construction, no alterations to the natural habitat. And the current sale? Well, that's between the parties involved, but any buyer would need to be informed of the designation before closing. After I hung up, Emily was standing at the end of the dock, still watching the heron. Everything okay? She asked. Everything's perfect. That evening, I sat at Mum's kitchen table with a stack of official documents spread in front of me. The wetland designation certificate was on top, signed and sealed with the state's official emblem. My phone buzzed with a text from Zion. Dinner tomorrow night to celebrate? Alice found a great steakhouse. I typed back. Can't make it. Have to work late. Another text, this one from Alice. Stop being antisocial. This is a family celebration. I turned off my phone and walked out to the back porch. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the water gold and orange. Somewhere in the marsh grass, a red-winged blackbird called to its mate. In 3 weeks, Gerard Lucas was going to get a very unpleasant surprise. The restaurant Alice chose was the kind of place where they brought you bread in a basket and the waiters wore bow ties. I felt underdressed in my simple black dress, but then again, I always felt underdressed around my family. There she is! Zion stood up from the corner booth, arms spread wide like I was some long-lost relative instead of someone he'd seen 3 days ago. The guest of honor! I'm hardly the guest of honor, I said, sliding into the booth next to Dad. Of course you are, Alice said, raising her champagne glass. We couldn't have done this without you. The irony wasn't lost on me. Where's Emily? I asked, noticing the empty spot next to Alice. Sleepover at Madison's house. She's been moping around all week about the move. Alice waved dismissively. Teenagers, you know. Everything's the end of the world. Micah appeared at our table, looking pleased with himself. Sorry I'm late, had to finish up some paperwork. He shook hands with Zion and kissed Alice's cheek. How's everyone feeling? Excited. Ecstatic, Zion said. I already put a deposit down on that boat I showed you. Zion, Dad said quietly. Don't you think you should wait until… Dad, the money's as good as in the bank. Right, Micah? Absolutely. Gerard's financing is solid, all the inspections came back clean, and we're on track to close next Friday. Micah signaled the waiter. Bottle of your best champagne, we're celebrating. Alice leaned forward. Tell them about the timeline, Micah. Well, Gerard's team wants to start clearing the lot immediately after closing. They're hoping to break ground by October, have the first phase completed by next summer. That fast? Dad asked. Gerard doesn't mess around. He's got crews lined up, permits ready to go. This is going to be his flagship property. The waiter arrived with the champagne, making a show of popping the cork. Alice held up her glass again. To Mom, she said. She always said this house would take care of us someday. To Mom, Zion echoed. I lifted my glass but didn't drink. Dad took a small sip and set his glass down. You know, Micah said, cutting into his steak. Gerard was telling me about his plans for the marina. He's talking about dredging the whole cove, putting in slips for 50 boats. Maybe even a yacht club. A yacht club? I set down my fork. High-end stuff. He wants to attract people from the city, make this a real destination. What about the wildlife? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Zion laughed. Wildlife? Denise, it's a few ducks and some fish. There are herons that nest there, and the marsh area… The marsh area is going to be a spa, Alice interrupted. Gerard showed me the plans. Outdoor hot tubs, meditation gardens, the whole 9 yards. But the ecosystem… Oh my God, Denise. Alice put down her champagne glass hard enough that it clinked against her plate. Can you please, for once in your life, not be so dramatic? It's a piece of land. Gerard's going to make it beautiful. It's already beautiful. It's a swamp, Zion said. Half the backyard floods every spring. Gerard's going to fix all that with proper drainage. Micah nodded. The environmental impact study came back clean. No protected species, no wetland issues. Gerard's lawyers were very thorough. I felt my phone buzz in my purse but ignored it. Speaking of lawyers, Alice said. Micah, tell them about the bonus. Bonus? Dad looked up from his barely touched meal. Gerard was so impressed with the property that he's adding an extra $25,000 to the sale price as a gesture of goodwill. Zion whooped. Are you serious? That's another $6,000 each. More than that, Alice said. I negotiated a finder's fee since I'm the one who reached out to Gerard initially. So really, it's about $8,000 extra for each of us. Alice, that's not… Dad started. Fair? Dad, I did all the work on this sale. I found the buyer, I handled the negotiations, I coordinated with Micah. Denise just had to sign a piece of paper. My phone buzzed again. Then again. Excuse me, I said, pulling it out of my purse. 3 missed calls from Gerard Lucas. 2 voicemails. Everything okay? Micah asked. I should probably take this. Work emergency. I stepped outside the restaurant and called Gerard back. Ms. Hanson? Thank God. I've been trying to reach you all evening. What can I do for you, Mr. Lucas? There's been a problem. A big problem. My legal team just informed me that your property has been designated as protected wetlands, as of today. I leaned against the restaurant's brick wall. I'm sorry to hear that. You're sorry? Do you understand what this means? I can't build anything on that land. Not a single structure. The whole development is dead. That does sound complicated. Complicated? His voice rose. I've already invested $200,000 in permits and planning. I have contractors lined up, materials ordered. This is a disaster. I'm sure you'll figure something out. Figure something out? Miss Hanson, I need to know how this happened. Wetland designations don't just appear overnight. Someone had to file for this. Someone with detailed environmental documentation. Through the restaurant window, I could see Alice gesturing animatedly, while Micah looked at his phone with a frown. I wouldn't know anything about that, I said. I just work in county planning. You work in... Gerard's voice cut off abruptly. Miss Hanson, what exactly is your job title? Administrative Manager for Environmental Assessments. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. You've got to be kidding me. Micah burst through the restaurant door, his face pale. Denise, there you are. We need to talk. Now. I hung up on Gerard and followed Micah back inside, where Alice and Zion were staring at their phones with identical expressions of horror. What's wrong? Dad asked. Alice looked up at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw real fear in her eyes. The sale is off, she whispered. The whole thing is off. The silence at our table was deafening. Other diners continued their conversations around us, clinking glasses and laughing, completely oblivious to the bomb that had just exploded in our little corner. Micah was frantically scrolling through his phone. This doesn't make sense. I had my paralegal run a full environmental check just last month. There was nothing. What exactly are we dealing with? Alice's voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. Protected wetlands designation, filed with the state yesterday, effective immediately. Micah looked up from his phone. Gerard's lawyers are saying the property is completely undevelopable now. No construction, no alterations to the natural habitat, nothing. Zion grabbed Micah's phone. Let me see that. Zion, give it back, Alice snapped. This has to be a mistake, Zion said, reading. It's just some bureaucratic mix-up, right? We can appeal it or something. It's not a mix-up. Micah's voice was grim. I just got off the phone with Gerard's head counsel. They've been dealing with wetland issues for years. This designation is rock solid. Someone filed a comprehensive environmental impact study with 3 years of documentation. Alice turned to stare at me. 3 years? That's what it says here, Zion read from the phone. Seasonal flooding patterns, migratory bird nesting sites, protected species habitat. He looked confused. Who the hell has been studying our backyard for 3 years? The waiter approached our table with dessert menus, took one look at our faces, and quickly retreated. Gerard is threatening to sue, Micah continued. Breach of contract, failure to disclose material information, damages for lost investment. He's talking about millions. Dad finally spoke up, his voice barely audible. Millions? His legal team is claiming we knowingly withheld information about environmental restrictions. They're saying we committed fraud. But we didn't know, Alice said. How could we know? That's what I told them, but Gerard's not buying it. He thinks someone in the family orchestrated this whole thing. All 3 of them turned to look at me. Why are you all staring at me? I asked, taking a sip of my champagne. Because you work for the county planning office, Alice said slowly. Because you handle environmental assessments. So? So you would have known if there were wetland issues with the property. I shrugged. I handle dozens of properties every month. I can't keep track of every single environmental report that crosses my desk. But this is our family's property, Zion said. You would have noticed if something came up about Mum's house. Would I? You all made it pretty clear that I'm just a paper-pushing bureaucrat who doesn't pay attention to important details. Micah was typing furiously on his phone. I'm trying to reach someone at the state environmental office. Maybe we can get more information about who filed this designation. Good luck with that, I said. Government offices are closed after 5. Alice leaned across the table. Denise, I need you to be completely honest with me. Did you know about this wetland thing before we signed the sale agreement? Are you accusing me of something? I'm asking you a direct question. I met her gaze steadily. I signed the same paperwork you did, Alice. I agreed to sell the house just like the rest of you. That's not what I asked. It's the answer you're getting. Zion slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses jump. This is insane. I already bought the boat. I put down $15,000. You did what? Dad stared at him. I figured the money was guaranteed. The dealer said I could take delivery next week. Jesus Christ, Zion. Alice rubbed her temples. Please tell me you didn't spend money you don't have. I may have also put an offer on a condo in Miami. The color drained from Alice's face. How much? Just a deposit. 50 grand. $50,000? Dad's voice cracked. Where did you get $50,000? I took out a loan against my expected inheritance. Micah looked like he was going to be sick. Zion, if this sale falls through, you're going to be in serious financial trouble. The sale can't fall through. We'll figure this out, right? We'll fight the wetland thing, or find another buyer, or something. Nobody's going to buy property that can't be developed, Micah said. The land is basically worthless now, except as a private residence. Then we'll sell it as a private residence. For what? Maybe 150,000? Split 4 ways? That's not even 40 grand each. That won't cover your deposits, let alone Gerard's potential lawsuit. Alice was staring at her phone, her face getting paler by the minute. I may have made some purchases too. What kind of purchases? Dad asked. I put a deposit on the house in Riverside Estates, and I may have bought some furniture, and enrolled Emily in private school. How much, Alice? 30,000, maybe 40. The table fell silent again. Around us, the restaurant hummed with normal conversation, normal people having normal dinners, completely unaware that my family was imploding in real time. Micah's phone rang. He answered it immediately. Gerard? Yes, I'm with the family now. He listened for a moment, his expression growing darker. I understand. Yes, I'll tell them. He hung up and looked around the table. Gerard's filing suit first thing Monday morning. He wants full restitution for his losses, plus punitive damages. His lawyers think they can prove deliberate concealment of material facts. But we didn't conceal anything, Alice said desperately. Someone did. Someone filed that environmental study. Someone with detailed knowledge of the property and access to county resources. Micah looked directly at me. Someone who works in environmental planning. I finished my champagne and set the glass down carefully. Well, this has been a lovely evening, but I should probably get going. Early day tomorrow. Denise. Alice's voice was deadly quiet. Sit down. Actually, I think I'll stand. Did you do this? I looked around the table at their faces. Alice's fury, Zion's panic, Dad's confusion, Micah's dawning realization. Do what, Alice? Protect a piece of land that's been in our family for 30 years? Preserve the habitat where Mom used to watch the herons every morning? Stop a developer from turning our childhood home into a strip mall with hot tubs? You destroyed us, she whispered. No, I said, picking up my purse. You destroyed yourselves. I just made sure you couldn't destroy anything else. I made it exactly 3 steps toward the restaurant exit before Alice's voice cut through the dining room like a knife. Get back here right now. Every head in the restaurant turned toward our table. The couple at the booth next to us stopped mid-conversation, forks halfway to their mouths. Alice, lower your voice, Dad said. Lower my voice? Dad, your daughter just admitted to sabotaging our family. I turned around slowly. I admitted to doing my job. Your job? Zion was on his feet now, his face flushed red. Your job is to screw over your own family? My job is to protect environmentally sensitive areas from developers who want to destroy them. That's our land. Alice stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You had no right." "I had every right. It's my land too, remember? I'm an equal owner." Micah held up his hands. "Everyone needs to calm down. We're making a scene." "I don't care if we're making a scene," Alice hissed. "I want to know exactly what she did and how she did it." The restaurant manager appeared at our table, a nervous-looking man in his 50s. "Excuse me, folks, but we're going to need you to keep it down or—" "We're leaving," I said. "No, we're not." Alice grabbed my arm. "We're going to sit down and figure this out like adults." I looked down at her manicured fingers digging into my sleeve. "Let go of me." "Not until you explain how you've been planning this behind our backs." "Alice, let her go," Dad said. 3 years, Denise. 3 years you've been documenting our property. While Mum was sick, while she was dying, while we were grieving, you were building a case against us. I was building a case to protect the land. From what? From us? From people like Gerard Lucas, who see a beautiful piece of nature and think, how can I pave this and make money? Zion moved around the table to stand next to Alice. You cost me $50,000. You cost yourself $50,000 by spending money you didn't have. Money I was supposed to have. Money that was rightfully mine. Nothing was rightfully yours until the sale went through, which it didn't. Because of you, the restaurant manager cleared his throat. I'm going to have to ask you to take this outside. Fine, Alice said, finally releasing my arm. We'll finish this at the house. What house? I asked. The one you can't wait to sell. The one you think is just a pile of rotting wood and bad memories. The house that belongs to all of us, Dad said quietly. 20 minutes later, we were back in Mum's living room, the same room where they'd voted to sell the house 3 weeks ago. But the dynamic had completely shifted. Now, I was the one standing while they sat, looking up at me with a mixture of anger and something that looked almost like fear. Start from the beginning, Alice demanded. When did you first decide to do this? I didn't decide anything. I just did my job. Stop saying that! Zion slammed his fist on the coffee table. This isn't about your job. This is about revenge. Revenge for what? For being the family screw-up. For not being successful like Alice or charming like me. For being the one who never amounted to anything. His words hit exactly where he intended them to, but I didn't flinch. You're right. I'm not successful like Alice. I don't make 6 figures selling people things they don't need. And I'm not charming like you, Zion. I can't smile my way out of $50,000 in debt. But you can destroy your family to make yourself feel better. I didn't destroy anything. I preserved it. Alice was pacing now, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Do you have any idea what you've done? Gerard is going to sue us into bankruptcy. I could lose my house. Zion could lose everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before you spent money you didn't have. We had a signed contract. You had a contract to sell land that was never legally yours to develop. It was our land. It was Mom's land, and Mom loved those herons. She loved the marsh. She loved watching the seasons change from that back porch. Mom is dead, Denise. Alice's voice cracked. She's been dead for 6 months, and we're the ones who have to deal with reality. This is reality. The land is protected. It's going to stay the way Mom loved it. Dad spoke for the first time since we'd gotten back to the house. What happens now? Micah, who had been unusually quiet, looked up from his phone. Gerard's lawyers are demanding a meeting Monday morning. They want to discuss settlement options. What kind of settlement? Alice asked. The kind where we pay him back for his losses and hope he doesn't press criminal charges. Criminal charges? Dad's voice was barely a whisper. Fraud, conspiracy, deliberate misrepresentation. Micah looked at me. They're going to argue that Denise used her position at the county to manipulate the sale. I used my position to do my job. Your job doesn't include targeting your own family's property. My job includes evaluating any property that meets the criteria for environmental protection. This property met those criteria. Alice stopped pacing and turned to face me. Fine. You want to play hardball? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to march into that environmental office Monday morning and reverse this designation. I can't do that. You can, and you will. The designation is based on 3 years of documented evidence. I can't just make it disappear because you want me to. Then we'll find someone who can. Good luck with that. Zion stood up. You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with you. He pointed at me. You're not my sister anymore. Sisters don't destroy each other. Brothers don't dismiss their sisters as pathetic failures either. I never said you were a failure. You didn't have to. It was written all over your face every time you looked at me. Alice moved to stand next to Zion. If you don't fix this, we'll never speak to you again. I looked at the two of them, standing shoulder to shoulder against me, just like they had our whole lives. Then I looked at Dad, slumped in his chair, looking older and more defeated than I'd ever seen him. You know what the funny thing is? I said. You're giving me exactly what I've always wanted. What's that? Alice asked. A family that finally sees me as powerful instead of pathetic. I walked toward the front door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Alice, there is one way out of this mess. What? You can still sell the house, just not to a developer. Find someone who wants to live here, who'll take care of it the way Mom did. The wetland designation doesn't prevent residential use. For what? 150,000? That's nothing. It's enough to pay Gerard back and cover your deposits, if you're smart about it. And if we're not smart about it, I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch. Then I guess you'll find out what it's like to lose everything that matters to you. The story broke on Tuesday morning. I was sitting at my desk, trying to focus on a routine zoning application, when Hadley rushed over with her laptop. You need to see this, she said, setting it down in front of me. The headline read, Local Families' Greed Backfires in Environmental Protection Case. Below it was a photo of Alice and Zion leaving Micah's office, both looking like they'd been hit by a truck. How did the press get this? I asked. Someone leaked Gerard's lawsuit filing. It's all here. The failed development deal, the family fighting, even the part about Zion's boat and Alice's house deposits. Hadley scrolled down. Look at the comments. There were hundreds of them. Good for the county worker who protected the wetlands. These people tried to destroy wildlife habitat for money and got what they deserved. Finally, someone standing up to greedy developers. My phone rang. Alice's name on the screen. Are you seeing this? Her voice was shaking. Seeing what? Don't play dumb. The news article, the comments. People are calling us monsters. I didn't leak anything to the press, Alice. Gerard's lawyers think you did. They're saying you orchestrated this whole media circus to make us look bad. Gerard's lawyers are grasping at straws. My boss called me into his office this morning. He's concerned about the negative publicity affecting the company's reputation. Alice's voice cracked. I might lose my job, Denise. Before I could respond, she hung up. Hadley was watching me carefully. How are you feeling about all this? I don't know. And that was the truth. I'd expected to feel triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I just felt hollow. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Can we talk, please? An hour later, I met Emily at the coffee shop near her school. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Mom's been crying for 3 days straight, she said without preamble. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because you don't look sorry. I studied her face. At 16, Emily had always been more perceptive than the adults in our family. It's complicated. No, it's not. You destroyed my family because you were mad at them. I protected land that needed protecting. You could have warned us. You could have told us about the wetland thing before we signed the papers. She was right, and we both knew it. Would it have mattered? Would your mom and uncle have listened to me? We'll never know, will we? Emily pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. This is what kids at school are saying about us. The social media post called Alice and Zion greedy environmental destroyers and included photos of our family from the newspaper article. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Mom had to withdraw me from the private school. We can't afford it now, and we can't move to the new house because she can't get approved for a mortgage with all this legal stuff hanging over her. What about your dad? He's threatening to sue for full custody. He says Mom's financial irresponsibility makes her an unfit parent. My stomach dropped. Emily, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You were too busy getting your revenge to think about who else might get hurt. She stood up to leave, then turned back. You know what the worst part is. Grandma would be ashamed of all of us. You, Mom, Uncle Zion, all of us. She always said family was the most important thing, and look what we've done to each other. That evening, I drove to the house and sat on the back porch, watching the sun set over the lake. The great blue heron was there, standing motionless in the shallows. Mom's favorite. My phone rang. Dad's number. Denise, can you come inside? We need to talk. I found him in the kitchen, looking frailer than ever. There were legal documents spread across the table. Gerard's lawyers made an offer, he said. If we pay him back his development costs, about $200,000, he'll drop the lawsuit. That's good news. Is it? Because we don't have $200,000. Even if we sell the house for full market value as a residence, we'll be lucky to get $150,000. I sat down across from him. What are you saying? I'm saying I might have to declare bankruptcy. At 62 years old, I might lose everything because my children can't stop fighting long enough to act like a family. Dad! Alice lost her job today. Zion's boat got repossessed, and the bank is threatening to foreclose on his condo. And you. He looked at me with tired eyes. You got exactly what you wanted. I wanted to save the house. No, you wanted to hurt them. And you did. But you hurt me too. You hurt Emily. You hurt everyone who cares about this family. I stared down at the legal papers. What do you want me to do? I want you to fix this. I can't reverse the wetland designation. It's based on legitimate environmental concerns. Then help us find another way. Use that brilliant mind of yours to solve problems instead of creating them. Dad stood up slowly, his joints creaking. Your mother's jewelry box is upstairs in the bedroom. She always said it should go to you someday. Maybe now's the time. After he left, I climbed the stairs to my parents' bedroom. Mom's jewelry box sat on the dresser, exactly where it had always been. Inside, along with her wedding ring and a few simple necklaces, was an envelope with my name on it. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Denise, it began in Mom's careful handwriting. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope you're not too sad. I know your brother and sister don't always appreciate how special you are, but I do. You have the biggest heart in this family, and the strongest will. That's a powerful combination, but it can be dangerous too. Promise me you'll use your strength to build bridges, not burn them. Family is messy and complicated and sometimes unfair, but it's also the only thing that really matters in the end. Take care of them, sweetheart, even when they don't deserve it. Especially then. All my love, Mom. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the letter, and finally let myself cry. Outside, the heron called to its mate across the darkening water. The next morning, I called Hadley before work. I need a favor, I said. A big one. What kind of favor? The kind that might get us both in trouble. An hour later, We were sitting in her car outside Gerard's downtown office building. "Are you sure about this?" Hadley asked. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Gerard's receptionist looked surprised when I walked in. "Ms. Hanson? Mr. Lucas wasn't expecting you." "Tell him I'm here to discuss a settlement." 5 minutes later, I was sitting across from Gerard in his glass-walled office. He looked like he hadn't slept much either. "This is unexpected," he said. "I have a proposition." "I'm listening." "You drop the lawsuit against my family. In exchange, I'll help you find another property for your resort development." Gerard leaned back in his chair. "What kind of property?" "There's a piece of land about 10 miles north of here. 40 acres, lake access, no environmental restrictions. The owner's been trying to sell for 2 years. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the one who knows which properties in this county are developable and which ones aren't. Work with me instead of against me." Gerard was quiet for a long moment. "What's in it for you?" "My family doesn't go bankrupt." "And the wetland designation on your property?" "Stays in place. Forever." He picked up his phone. "Get me Tom Bradley from legal." 2 hours later, I was back at the house. Alice's car was in the driveway, along with Zion's truck. I found them in the living room with Dad and Micah. "What are you doing here?" Alice asked. "Gerard's dropping the lawsuit." The room went dead silent. "What?" Micah looked up from his laptop. "I just came from his office. He's withdrawing all claims against the family." "How?" Zion's voice was barely a whisper. "I made a deal with him." Alice stood up. "What kind of deal?" "The kind where he gets what he wants and we get what we need." "Denise," Dad said quietly, "what did you do?" "I helped him find a better property for his development, one that's actually suitable for a resort." Micah was typing furiously. "I'm not seeing any paperwork filed yet." "It'll be filed by end of business today. Gerard's lawyers are drawing up the withdrawal documents now." Alice sank back into her chair. "I don't understand. Why would you help him after everything that's happened?" "Because Emily was right. Grandma would be ashamed of all of us." "So what happens now?" Zion asked. "Now we figure out how to sell this house to someone who'll actually live in it." Micah cleared his throat. "Actually, I might have a buyer." We all turned to look at him. "My cousin Sarah has been looking for a place on the lake. She's a teacher, recently divorced, has 2 kids. She saw the newspaper article and called me yesterday." "How much is she offering?" Alice asked. $140. Cash. She can close in 2 weeks. Alice and Zion exchanged glances. It wasn't the windfall they'd been expecting, but it was enough to cover their deposits and get them out of debt. "That works," Alice said finally. "For all of us?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, do I get a vote this time, or are we back to the 3-against-1 system?" Dad spoke up. "Everyone gets a vote. Equal shares, equal say." "Then I vote yes," I said. "On one condition." "What condition?" Zion asked suspiciously. "Emily gets first pick of anything she wants from the house. Furniture, photos, whatever. Before we divide up the rest." Alice's eyes filled with tears. "She'd like that." "I vote yes too," Dad said. "Yes," Zion agreed. "Yes," Alice whispered. Micah started gathering his papers. "I'll call Sarah and set up the paperwork." After he left, the 4 of us sat in awkward silence for a few minutes. "I'm sorry," Alice said finally. "About the things I said, about calling you pathetic and childish. I'm sorry too, about the way I handled this whole thing." "You could have just talked to us," Zion said. "Explained about the wetlands before we got in so deep. Would you have listened?" He thought about it. "Probably not." "Definitely not," Alice admitted. Dad stood up slowly. "I'm going to make some coffee. Anyone want some?" "I'll help," I said. In the kitchen, Dad filled the old percolator, while I got cups from the cabinet. "Your mother would be proud of you," he said, "for fixing this. I'm the one who broke it in the first place." "No, sweetheart. It was broken long before you filed that wetland designation. We just never bothered to notice." The coffee started percolating, filling the kitchen with its familiar smell. "Dad, what are you going to do after the house sells?" "I don't know yet. Maybe find a little apartment somewhere. Start over. You could stay with me for a while, if you want. My couch pulls out." He smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'd like that." We carried the coffee back to the living room, where Alice and Zion were looking through old photo albums. "Look at this one," Alice said, holding up a picture of the three of us as kids, building a sandcastle on the beach. "Remember that summer?" "You made me be the castle servant," I said. "And you put sand in our lunch sandwiches," Zion added. "That was an accident." "Sure it was." We spent the rest of the afternoon going through boxes and albums, dividing up memories along with possessions. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, still things left unsaid. But it was a start. As the sun set over the lake, I walked out to the dock one last time. The heron was there, as always, waiting patiently for fish. "Thank you," I whispered to Mum, to the bird, to the lake itself. Behind me, I could hear Alice and Zion arguing about who got Dad's old fishing tackle, their voices carrying the familiar rhythm of siblings who knew exactly how to annoy each other. It sounded like family. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for everything. I know this wasn't easy. Gerard." I deleted it without responding and walked back toward the house, where my family was waiting.
The credit alert lit up my phone at 3 a.m. $14,000 charged to Hermes Paris. My stomach dropped. I'd never even been to Europe. I'm Lisa, and 6 months ago I thought I had it all. A loving husband, a beautiful home in the suburbs, and the kind of financial stability my parents had worked their whole lives to give me. Now I was staring at my phone in the dark, trying to make sense of numbers that shouldn't exist. Samir," I whispered, nudging my husband. He stirred but didn't wake, peaceful in his designer pyjamas, the same ones he'd brought home last week, insisting they were a bargain find. The morning light brought no clarity. Over coffee, I tried to sound casual. "Hey, did you happen to use my card for anything overseas?" Samir barely looked up from his phone. "Of course not, babe. Why?" "There's a charge from Paris." He set his phone down then, dark eyes meeting mine. "Must be fraud. You should call the bank." His voice was steady, concerned even, but something felt off, like that slight pause before he spoke. "I will," I said, watching him over the rim of my mug. "It's just weird, you know, such a specific store. These scammers are getting sophisticated." He stood, straightening his tie. "Don't worry about it. I'm heading to Mum and Dad's before work. Dad needs help with some investment stuff." I nodded, remembering the first time I'd met his parents. Yolanda had swept me into a perfumed embrace, diamonds glinting at her throat. "Welcome to the family, darling," she'd said, while Zechariah looked on with approval. They lived in a mansion that screamed old money, though Samir had mentioned they'd had some setbacks recently. The bank representative was helpful, but what she told me made my blood run cold. "Mrs. Watson, this charge was approved in person. The chip was present and the PIN was used correctly." "That's impossible," I said, pacing our kitchen. "I have my card right here." "There appear to be 2 active cards on this account." I stopped moving. 2? "Yes, both issued to Lisa Watson. One activated 6 months ago, shortly after your name change." My wedding had been 6 months ago. I hung up and called my best friend Poppy. She picked up on the first ring. "Girl, you're calling me before noon on a workday. Who died?" "I think my husband's stealing from me." Silence. Then, "Get your ass to my office now." Poppy's law office was all glass and steel, but her presence made it warm. She listened without interrupting as I explained about the charge, the duplicate card. Have you checked your credit report? She asked when I finished. Not recently. I have good credit. I always have. She was already typing. Log into your accounts, all of them, now. An hour later, I sat back, numb. 5 new credit cards I'd never applied for. Charges to luxury stores, first-class flights, hotel suites, all in my name. This is identity theft, Poppy said quietly. You need to decide what you want to do about it. I need to talk to Samir first. Maybe there's an explanation. Lisa? Poppy leaned forward. You're in finance. You know better than this. These signatures, they're forged. This isn't a misunderstanding. My phone buzzed. A text from Yolanda. Sunday brunch tomorrow, darling. I simply must show you what your father-in-law bought me in Paris. You'll die. I stared at the message, remembering Samir's words this morning. The investment stuff, the setbacks, the designer pyjamas. I need to see something first, I told Poppy, before we do anything official. Be careful, she warned. If you're right about this, you're dealing with people who think they're entitled to your life. I nodded, already planning tomorrow's brunch. I'd wear my favourite blue dress, the one that made me look innocent, trusting. I'd smile and laugh at Yolanda's stories, and I'd look for a silk scarf that cost $14,000. I will be, I promised Poppy. But first I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with. Walking to my car, I thought about my dad, who'd worked 2 jobs to keep our family afloat, who'd taught me about saving, about earning what you have, about respect. Another text from Yolanda. Bring that lovely checkbook of yours, dear. Your father-in-law has an amazing investment opportunity to discuss. I got in my car and started the engine, hands steady on the wheel. Sunday brunch was going to be very interesting indeed. Sunday brunch at the Watson estate always felt like stepping into a museum where you couldn't touch anything. Today, the marble foyer gleamed as I entered, my heels clicking against the floor. The sound of tinkling crystal and laughter drifted from the sunroom. There's my beautiful daughter-in-law. Yolanda's voice carried across the space. She floated toward me in a cloud of Chanel No. 5, and there it was, wrapped artfully around her neck, a distinctive orange silk scarf with a pattern I'd seen on my credit statement. My stomach churned, but I smiled. That's gorgeous, I said, gesturing to the scarf. Is that new? Oh, this little thing. She touched it delicately. Zechariah surprised me in Paris. You know how he loves to spoil me. Except Zechariah hadn't been to Paris. I'd checked their social media obsessively last night. They hadn't left the country in months. Lisa, darling, Zechariah emerged from his study, laptop under his arm. Perfect timing. I have something exciting to discuss. Samir appeared behind him, looking nervous. Dad, maybe we should let Lisa eat first. Nonsense. Zechariah guided me to the dining room, where crystal glasses caught the morning light. The best deals are discussed over good food. The maid, a new one I noticed, served mimosas and eggs Benedict. Yolanda dominated the conversation, describing a spa weekend I was certain matched another mysterious charge on my credit card. And Lisa, Zechariah cut in, opening his laptop. I've found an incredible investment opportunity. High returns, minimal risk. I can get you in, but we need to act fast. I took a sip of mimosa. How much are we talking about? Just $50,000 to start. A drop in the bucket considering the potential returns. Samir wouldn't meet my eyes. That's a lot of money, I said carefully. I'd need to think about it. Yolanda laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Oh, darling, that's just what wives do. We support the family's ventures. When I married Zechariah, I gave him complete access to my inheritance. It's about trust. Speaking of trust, I pulled out my phone. I got the strangest alert about a charge in Paris. The room went still. Samir's fork clattered against his plate. Must be fraud, Zechariah said quickly. Terrible thing, identity theft. Isn't it? I smiled, watching Yolanda's hand drift to her scarf. The bank said the card was used in person. Well, these criminals are very sophisticated nowadays. Yolanda waved her hand dismissively. Samir, pour your wife more mimosa. Lisa, you simply must try these truffles, imported from Italy. More charges I'd probably paid for. I accepted the glass from Samir, noting how his hand shook slightly. Actually, I said, I'd love to hear more about the investment opportunity. Could you email me the details? Of course, Zechariah brightened. I'll need you to sign some preliminary paperwork. Nothing major, just standard forms. I bet they were. Send everything to my work email. I'll have our legal team look it over. Samir choked on his drink. That won't be necessary, babe. Dad's been doing this for years. Even better reason to do things properly. I stood, smoothing my dress. I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow. Yolanda rose to embrace me, the silk scarf brushing my cheek. You work too hard, darling. You should let Samir take care of things. Oh, he'd been taking care of things all right. In the car, I called Poppy. You were right, the scarf was there, and they tried to get me to invest 50 grand in some scheme. Tell me you recorded that conversation. I patted my purse where my phone had been recording the entire brunch. Every word. Good girl. Come to my office tomorrow. We need to talk about your options. That night, Samir was unusually attentive. You seemed quiet at brunch, he said, sliding into bed beside me. Just tired. I turned away, remembering how we used to lie here talking about our dreams. Now all I could think about was how many lies had been whispered in this same bed. Mom really likes you, you know, he continued. Says you're the best thing that happened to our family. I thought about Yolanda's words. That's just what wives do. I'm going to make some tea, I said, slipping out of bed. In the kitchen, I opened my laptop and began typing. Dear Mr. McCormick, I'd like to report a case of identity theft and credit card fraud. My hands were steady as I typed out every detail. The scarf, the duplicate cards, the forged signatures. In the bedroom, I could hear Samir's gentle snoring, unaware that his perfectly constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. Sometimes the biggest betrayals come wrapped in silk, served with mimosas and million-dollar smiles. But I was done being the family ATM. Tomorrow I would start fighting back. The credit report landed in my inbox at work with a soft ping that felt like a bomb dropping. 67 pages. Normal reports aren't 67 pages. Holy shit, I whispered, scrolling through account after account. 5 credit cards, 3 personal loans, a line of credit, all opened within months of our wedding. My office phone rang, making me jump. Lisa speaking. I've been trying to reach you all morning, Poppy said. Have you seen it? Looking at it right now. My voice cracked. How did I not know? Because you trusted your husband like you were supposed to. Poppy's voice hardened. Now get your things, we're meeting someone. I can't just leave work. Call in sick. This is more important. 30 minutes later, I sat in a coffee shop off Main Street, as far from my usual haunts as possible. Poppy arrived with a tall man in a crisp suit. Lisa, this is Dylan McCormick. He's a fraud investigator I trust. Dylan's handshake was firm, his eyes kind but professional. Ms. Daniels, he used my maiden name without being asked, I've reviewed your initial report. We need to talk about your signature. He pulled out several documents, laying them side by side. This is your real signature from your marriage license. These, he pointed to the credit applications, are forgeries. Good ones, but definitely forgeries. That changes things, Poppy leaned forward. This isn't just identity theft anymore, it's criminal fraud. My phone buzzed. Samir. Where are you? Your office said you went home sick. Should I bring soup? I turned the phone face down. What do I do now? First, Dylan said, we document everything. Bank statements, credit cards, purchases. Then we build a case. But Lisa, he caught my eye, you can't let them know you're investigating. People who commit fraud often panic when discovered. They might destroy evidence or worse. Worse? Empty accounts, transfer assets, leave the country. My hands shook as I lifted my coffee. They're already trying to get me to invest more money. Zechariah has some opportunity he wants me to sign on to. Perfect, Dylan nodded. Keep playing along. Record everything. We'll set up a secure email for you to forward documents to me. Back home, I found Samir in the kitchen with grocery bags. Baby, you scared me. Why didn't you answer my texts? Sorry, I managed a weak smile. Migraine, needed to turn off my phone. He pulled me into a hug and I forced myself not to stiffen. Poor thing, I got your favourite soup. Oh, and Mum wanted me to remind you about the investment paperwork. Right, I pulled away, pretending to rub my temples. Did your dad email it? I can just bring it home, save you the hassle of reviewing it. No, I said too quickly. I mean, email's better, for my records. He gave me an odd look but nodded. That night I waited until Samir was asleep before slipping into our home office. The filing cabinet yielded more horrors. Statements from accounts I never knew existed, receipts for jewellery and watches, first-class airline tickets. My phone lit up with a text from my cousin Jasmine. Girl, your in-laws are living large. Check Insta. I opened Instagram to find photos from a charity gala. Yolanda dripping in diamonds, Zechariah showing off a new Rolex. The caption read, Supporting the arts with the fam, Tsa blessed Naho giving back. Those diamonds matched a $23,000 charge from last month. My hands trembled as I took screenshots and forwarded them to Dylan. The next morning, Samir dropped another bomb. Honey, we need to talk about the mortgage. I looked up from my untouched breakfast. What about it? We're a bit behind, nothing serious, but Dad suggested we might tap into your 401k to catch up, just temporarily. The room spun. They'd maxed out my credit and now they wanted my retirement savings. I'll think about it, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. It's what families do, he said, kissing my cheek. We help each other. After he left, I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Then I called Poppy. They want my 401k, I gasped. Like hell they do. Lisa, we have enough. Dylan can move whenever you're ready. I thought about my dad again, how he'd worked overtime to help me start that 401k when I got my first job. Not yet, I said. I want all of it. Every receipt, every lie, every fake signature. I want them to understand exactly what they did. Okay, Poppy said softly, but be careful. You're playing with fire. I touched my wedding ring, remembering our vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, but nobody mentioned in theft and in fraud. Don't worry, I said. I'm done getting burned. The Watson estate looked different now that I knew it was built on my stolen credit. Every crystal glass, every piece of art screamed fraud. But I smiled as Yolanda ushered me into their living room for afternoon tea. Lisa, darling, we've missed you. She air-kissed my cheeks. I've been telling everyone what a blessing you are to this family. My phone recorded quietly in my pocket as I settled onto their Italian leather sofa. That's so sweet. Of course, not every daughter-in-law understands family obligation like you do. Yolanda poured tea into delicate cups that probably cost more than my first car. Zechariah, come join us. Look who's here. Zechariah emerged from his study wearing a golf outfit that still had the price tags tucked inside. I caught a glimpse as he sat down. Another charge I'd probably find on my next statement. Lisa? Perfect timing. I was just about to call about that investment opportunity. Yes, I smiled, taking out my notebook. I'd love to hear more details. He launched into a complicated explanation about offshore accounts and guaranteed returns. I took notes, watching Yolanda fidget with her new tennis bracelet. It's really quite simple, Zechariah concluded. We just need you to sign these forms. He slid a stack of papers across the coffee table. I pretended to review them. This looks like it needs to be notarized. Oh, don't worry about that, Yolanda waved her hand. Samir can handle all those tedious details, like he handled the credit card applications. The words slipped out before I could stop them. The room went silent. Yolanda's teacup froze halfway to her lips. I'm sorry. Zechariah's voice was sharp. I forced a laugh. Oh, just thinking about all the paperwork Samir helps with. He's so good with that stuff. Yes, Yolanda recovered quickly. We raised him to understand the importance of family prosperity. You know, before you came along, we were worried he might marry someone less understanding. Less understanding? Someone who didn't appreciate the Watson name. Zechariah's tone was patronizing. You're lucky to carry it, my dear. My phone buzzed. A text from Dylan. Got the mortgage docs, forgery confirmed, ready when you are. Speaking of the Watson name, I kept my voice light. I saw the photos from the charity gala. Those diamonds were stunning, Yolanda. Weren't they? Zechariah surprised me. She touched the tennis bracelet. Though I suppose you already knew about them, didn't you? My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Well, your name is on all the accounts, darling. Don't play coy. It's not attractive. They knew I knew, and they didn't care. More tea? Yolanda smiled, all teeth and triumph. No, thank you. I stood up, hands steady. I should go. But we haven't finished discussing the investment, Zechariah protested. I'll think about it. Lisa. His voice stopped me at the door. Remember who we are, what this family has given you. Given me? They'd taken everything. In my car, I played back the recording. Their voices were clear, confident, entitled. I forwarded it to Dylan and Poppy, then drove straight to Poppy's office. She was waiting with a stack of documents. They admitted it, on record. They practically bragged about it. My voice shook. They think I'm their personal piggy bank. Well, they thought wrong. She spread out papers across her desk. Look at these. Credit applications, loan documents, even the mortgage refinance, all with forged signatures, all federal crimes. What's the penalty? With these amounts, years in prison, plus restitution. My phone lit up with a text from Samir. Mum says you left upset. Everything okay, babe? Another from Yolanda. Darling, don't be difficult. It's unbecoming. And finally, Zechariah. The investment paperwork needs your signature by tomorrow. Don't disappoint the family. I showed the messages to Poppy. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Because they think you're trapped. She squeezed my hand. Are you ready to prove them wrong? I thought about their smug faces, their casual ownership of my life, their assumption that I would just keep playing along. Call Dylan, I said. It's time. Once we do this, there's no going back. Your marriage, your relationship with them, it all ends. I touched my wedding ring, then slowly slid it off. It felt like removing handcuffs. They ended it the moment they stole my identity. They just didn't expect me to fight back. Poppy picked up her phone. Dylan, we're ready. Start the paperwork. Outside her office window, storm clouds gathered. Perfect weather for what was coming. The Watson family was about to learn that some blessings come with sharp edges, and I was done being the sacrificial lamb at their altar of greed. Just act normal, Dylan had said. Keep collecting evidence. But normal felt impossible as I watched Samir get dressed for work, knowing each designer item he wore was bought with my stolen credit. You're quiet lately, he said, adjusting his tie. Everything okay? Just work stress. I forced a smile. Hey, your mum's hosting that dinner party tonight, right? Yeah, you're coming, aren't you? She's showing off her new renovation. The renovation I'd apparently financed. Wouldn't miss it. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification from my cousin Jasmine. My heart stopped. There, in her latest post, was Yolanda at some luxury boutique surrounded by shopping bags. The caption read, Shopping with the fabulous Mrs. W. That crocodile bag is everything. Taste luxury life. I zoomed in on the receipt visible in one of the bags. The date matched a $12,000 charge on my latest statement. Got to run, I said, forwarding the post to Dylan. Meeting downtown. The meeting wasn't downtown. It was in a quiet coffee shop where Dylan waited with a thick folder. Your cousin's post is gold, he said as I sat down. Timestamp, location, clear view of the merchandise, all purchased with your fraudulent cards. How much more do we need? We're close. The dinner party tonight. Can you record it? I nodded. Poppy showed me how to use this app that looks like a normal phone screen but records everything. Perfect. These people love to brag. Let them. That evening, I arrived at the Watson estate in my best dress. Might as well look good while taking them down. The house was packed with their social circle, everyone dripping in designer labels. "Lisa," Yolanda swooped in. "Come see the new marble countertops, Italian, of course." My recording app was already running as she led me through the kitchen, detailing every expensive upgrade. Each feature matched another mysterious charge on my accounts. And this lighting fixture, she gestured upward, was such a find in Paris. "Paris?" I kept my voice casual. "When were you there?" "Oh, darling, you know, that trip last month, the one you helped with." She winked conspiratorially. Helped with. Like I'd had a choice. Samir appeared with drinks. "Mom, you're monopolizing my wife." "Can you blame me? She's been such a godsend to this family." Yolanda touched my arm. "You know, before Lisa, we were worried about maintaining our lifestyle. Now look at us." My phone buzzed. Jasmine had posted another story. This time it was Yolanda showing off her crocodile bag to the dinner guests, bragging about its exclusivity. "Excuse me," I mumbled, hurrying to the bathroom. I forwarded the new post to Dylan with shaking hands. A knock at the door made me jump. "Lisa?" It was Samir. "Dad wants to discuss that investment. He says it's urgent." I opened the door to find both Samir and Zechariah waiting. "The opportunity closes tomorrow," Zechariah said. "We need your signature tonight." "I don't have my checkbook." "No need." He pulled out papers. "Just sign here and I'll handle everything." I glanced at the documents. Power of attorney forms. They wanted control of everything. I should have my lawyer review these first. Zechariah's face hardened. "We're family. Don't you trust us?" Trust. Like they'd trusted me when they stole my identity. "Of course," I lied, "but it's a lot of money. I need time to think." "Lisa," Samir touched my arm. "Dad knows what he's doing. Just sign." I looked at them both, my husband and father-in-law, standing there expecting me to hand over the last of my financial freedom. "I'm feeling sick," I said. "I should go home." "But the party," Samir started. "Let her go," Zechariah cut in. "We'll discuss this tomorrow." In my car, I called Dylan. "They just tried to get me to sign power of attorney forms." "Tell me you didn't." "No, but they're getting aggressive, pushing for signatures, talking about urgent deadlines." "They're planning something big," he said. "Good news is, we have enough to move forward. Bad news is, we need to move fast." I watched through the window as the party continued, crystal glasses catching the light, everyone laughing at Yolanda's stories. My so-called family, spending my money, planning to take what little I had left. "Do it," I said. "Whatever paperwork you need, whatever statements you need me to sign, I want them stopped. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. And Lisa, don't go home tonight. These people, when they realise they're caught, things could get ugly." I started the car, watching Samir search for me through the windows. "Don't worry, I know exactly where I'm going." It was time to end this charade. The Watsons wanted to play with fire. Fine, let them burn. The divorce papers sat in my purse like a loaded gun as I prepared dinner. Samir would be home any minute, and for once I wasn't going to serve up lies alongside the meal. My phone had been buzzing all day. Yolanda. "Those investment papers need signing today." Zechariah. "Call me immediately about the transfer." Samir. "Dad's really stressed about this deal. Let's make him happy." I turned off my phone and checked the recording app one last time. Everything was ready. The front door opened. "Something smells amazing," Samir called out. "Made your favourite." I placed his plate of steak and potatoes on the table. "We need to talk." He loosened his tie, settling into his chair. "About the investment? Because Dad—" "No." I pulled out the envelope. "About this." His fork clattered against the plate as he read the divorce petition. His face went from confused to angry to calculating in seconds. "Baby, what is this? Whatever's wrong, we can fix it." "Fix it?" I slid printed credit statements across the table, like you fixed my credit or my identity. I can explain. Explain the forged signatures, the stolen cards, the loans I never approved. He stood up, hands spread in surrender. Okay, yes, I took some liberties, but it was for us, for the family. The family? I laughed bitterly. You mean your mother's shopping sprees, your father's fake investments? They're not fake. Dad just needs capital to pay off the other people he's scammed. I pushed forward a stack of research papers. I found his previous fraud cases. Did you think I wouldn't? Samir's face darkened. You've been investigating us? Like you've been stealing from me. He reached for my hand. I pulled back. Baby, please, we can work this out. I'll pay everything back. With what money? The money you stole from me? His phone buzzed. Zechariah's name flashed on the screen. Don't, I warned as he reached for it. He answered anyway. Dad, now's not... What? No, she hasn't signed. I know, but... I could hear Zechariah yelling through the phone. She knows, Samir finally said. About everything. More yelling. Then Samir's face changed. I'll handle it. The way he said it made my skin crawl. I stood up, grabbing my purse. Where are you going? His voice was different now. Harder. Away from you. You can't do this to us. He blocked the doorway. Do you know what you'll destroy? The people you'll hurt. Like you hurt me. That was different. We're family. No. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording app. We're criminals and victims, and guess which one I am? His eyes widened. You've been recording everything. The dinner party, your parents' confessions, this conversation. Delete it. He stepped toward me. Delete it now. It's already with the FBI. He lunged for my phone. I dodged, thanking God for the self-defense classes Poppy had insisted on. Don't make this worse, I warned, backing toward the door. Worse? He laughed desperately. You're destroying everything. Our marriage, my family's reputation. You destroyed those things. Every time you forged my signature, every time you stole my money, every time you lied. My phone buzzed. Dylan signaled that everything was in place. I'm leaving, I said. Don't try to stop me. They'll never believe you, he called after me. We're respected in this community. You're just a gold digger trying to cause trouble. I turned back one last time. Check your email. The FBI will be contacting you shortly about their fraud investigation. His face went pale. You wouldn't? I already did. I touched my bare ring finger. Goodbye, Samir. Outside, rain had started falling. I got in my car, hands shaking as I started the engine. Through the window, I saw Yolanda pull up in her luxury SUV, probably coming to pressure me about the investment. She waved, all smiles, not knowing her world was about to implode. I drove to Poppy's house, where a spare room and a glass of wine waited. Tomorrow the FBI would move in. Tomorrow the Watsons would learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. My phone lit up with messages. Samir, please come home, we can fix this. Yolanda, what have you done? Zechariah, you'll regret this. I blocked their numbers one by one. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is fight back. And sometimes justice comes with divorce papers and an FBI investigation. Let them panic. Let them scheme. Their time was up, and mine was just beginning. The FBI moved in at dawn. I watched from my parked car down the street as 3 black SUVs pulled up to the Watson estate. Dylan had texted me the timing, suggesting I might want to witness the end of my nightmare. Federal agents, open up! The sound carried clearly across the morning quiet. Through my windshield, I watched Zechariah open the door in his expensive pyjamas, face shifting from annoyance to fear as badges were thrust in his face. What is the meaning of this? His voice carried across the lawn. Sir, we have a warrant to search these premises in connection with multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. Yolanda appeared behind him in her silk robe. This is ridiculous. Do you know who we are?" "Yes, ma'am, that's why we're here." Neighbours started emerging from their houses as agents streamed into the mansion. I could hear Yolanda's shrill protests. "Those are my personal belongings. You can't touch those." My phone buzzed. "Poppy, turn on the local news. They're covering it live." Sure enough, news vans were pulling up, cameras rolling as agents carried out boxes of documents, designer bags, jewellery. "Mrs. Watson," a reporter called out, "can you comment on the fraud allegations?" "This is all a misunderstanding." Yolanda tried to block a photographer. "That ungrateful girl is lying." A commotion drew my attention to a police car pulling up. Samir emerged from the house in handcuffs, head down. "Sir, did you knowingly forge your wife's signature on credit applications?" He looked up then, straight at my car. Even from this distance, I could see the mix of anger and desperation in his eyes. My phone rang. "Dylan. We found everything exactly where you said it would be. The forged documents, the credit cards, even receipts they kept as trophies. You did good, Lisa." I watched as an agent carried out the Hermes scarf, the one that had started it all. Yolanda lunged for it, screaming, "That's mine!" "Actually," the agent replied, "according to our evidence, it belongs to Lisa Daniels." "That little witch!" Yolanda spun toward my car. "She's out there watching, isn't she? Lisa, show yourself." I started my engine. I'd seen enough. But before I could drive away, Zechariah broke free from the agents and ran toward my car. "You think this is over?" he shouted. "We made you. You're nothing without the Watson name." 2 agents tackled him to the manicured lawn. As they helped him up, I finally rolled down my window. "Actually," I said clearly, "I'm everything without it." The news cameras swung toward me. Reporters rushed over, but I was already pulling away. In my rearview mirror, I watched their perfect world crumble on their perfect lawn. My phone kept buzzing. Local family arrested in major fraud scheme. Socialites accused of identity theft. Watson financial empire implodes. I drove to Poppy's office, where she waited with coffee and a fierce grin. "They found offshore accounts," she said as I sat down. "Millions hidden away. Your case broke open dozens of other frauds they'd committed. How long will they go away for? With these charges, years, plus full restitution to you and their other victims." I sank into her couch, suddenly exhausted. I kept wondering if I was doing the right thing, if I was being too harsh. They stole your identity, your money, your trust. They deserved everything they got. My phone buzzed again. "Jasmine. OMG! Just saw the news! That Hermes scarf! No wonder Yolanda was always bragging about her generous daughter-in-law." Then Dylan. "Samir's asking to make a deal, wants to testify against his parents." Of course he was. Even now he was trying to save himself. "You should see their social media," Poppy smirked, scrolling through her phone. "All those bragging posts about their luxury lifestyle. The comments are brutal now that people know it was all stolen money." A final text came through from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. Family should protect family." I showed it to Poppy, who immediately called Dylan. "Let them threaten," she said after hanging up. "Every threat just adds to their charges now." Through her office window, I could see the city skyline. Somewhere out there, the Watsons were being processed into custody, their designer clothes exchanged for jumpsuits, their mansion being searched room by room. "You okay?" Poppy asked softly. I touched my bare ring finger, remembering the girl who'd once believed in fairy tales about family and trust. "I will be," I said, and for the first time in months I actually meant it. Sometimes justice wears a badge, sometimes it arrives in dawn raids and handcuffs, and sometimes it looks like a woman who finally decided to fight back. The courtroom fell silent as the judge cleared his throat. I sat between Poppy and Dylan, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. "In the matter of federal fraud charges," the judge began, "this court finds the defendants guilty on all counts." Yolanda's perfectly maintained facade finally cracked. She crumpled into her designer suit, mascara running. Behind her, Zechariah stared straight ahead, his face ashen. The defendant, Samir, the judge continued, in light of his cooperation, will serve 5 years. Zechariah and Yolanda Watson will serve 12 years each, with mandatory restitution to all victims. I released a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Samir turned to look at me from his seat, but I kept my eyes forward. Additionally, the judge added, the court orders the immediate liquidation of all assets to repay the victims of this extensive fraud scheme. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Dylan shielded me as cameras flashed. "Lisa!" Yolanda's voice cut through the chaos as officers led her toward the prison transport. "We're still family. You can't let them do this." I stopped and turned. Family doesn't steal from family. "We gave you everything." "No," I said clearly, making sure the cameras caught every word. "You took everything, and now you're paying it back." Poppy squeezed my arm. "Come on, there's something you need to see." She drove me to my old house, the one I'd shared with Samir. A sold sign stood in the yard. "The liquidation starts here," she explained. "The proceeds will help repay what they stole from you." My phone buzzed. A news alert. Watson estate seized. Luxury items to be auctioned. "You know what's ironic?" I said, scrolling through photos of Yolanda's precious collections being catalogued for auction. They were so worried about maintaining their lifestyle that they committed fraud. Now they've lost everything. "Speaking of everything," Dylan pulled up in his car, "there's one more stop we need to make." He drove us to a small office building downtown. A new sign was being installed. Financial Freedom Counselling Services. "What's this?" I asked. "Your new office," Poppy grinned. "Remember that business plan you showed me about helping other fraud victims rebuild their lives? Well, the restitution money is enough to get you started." I stared at the sign, remembering all the nights I dreamed of turning my nightmare into something meaningful. "There's more," Dylan added. "We've already got clients. Other victims of the Watsons who need help rebuilding their credit, their lives." My phone buzzed again. "Jasmine, just saw the sentencing news. Girl, you're trending. Short justice served." I opened social media to find thousands of supportive messages. "You gave us courage to fight back." "Thank you for exposing these predators." "Your story helped me recognize financial abuse in my own marriage." "Lisa?" A woman approached us outside the office. "I saw you at the courthouse. I think my husband is doing what Samir did to you. Can you help me?" I looked at her desperate face, remembering how alone I'd felt before Poppy and Dylan helped me. "Come inside," I said, unlocking the office door. "Let's talk." Later that evening, I sat at my new desk, looking at the framed document Poppy had given me. My final divorce decree. Beside it, she'd framed the first dollar bill earned from my counselling service. A knock at the door revealed Dylan with coffee. "Thought you might need this. Big day." "Thanks." I took the cup, noticing how his hand lingered near mine. "For everything." "You did all the hard work. I just helped with the paperwork." "Still," I met his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you." My phone buzzed one last time. An email from prison. "Dear Lisa, I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I need you to know." I deleted Samir's email without reading further. Some apologies come too late. "Ready to go?" Dylan asked. I looked around my office, at the blank walls waiting for success stories, at the empty chairs waiting for people who needed help, at the future I'd built from the ashes of betrayal. "Actually," I smiled, "I think I'll stay a bit longer. There's work to be done." He nodded, understanding. "Dinner tomorrow?" "I'd like that." As he left, I opened my laptop and began typing. "Welcome to Financial Freedom Counselling. If you're reading this, you're not alone. Your story matters. Your future matters. And together, we'll rebuild what was taken from you." I lost a marriage but found my purpose. I lost a fake family but built a real community. And somewhere in a prison cell, the Watsons were learning that karma doesn't wear designer labels. Sometimes it wears a business suit and carries a badge. I touched my bare ring finger one last time, then began to type. There were stories to tell, lives to rebuild, and justice to serve. this time on my terms.
The champagne bubbles tickle my nose as I study my reflection, wondering if brides are supposed to feel this happy or if I'm just being ridiculous. My hands shake slightly as I adjust the delicate lace veil, careful not to disturb the intricate updo that took Maria 2 hours to perfect. "Stop fidgeting, Lorelai," Marley says, batting my hands away. "You look perfect. Lee won't know what hit him." I catch her eye in the mirror and we both burst into giddy laughter. The bridal suite buzzes with activity. My mom fussing with flower arrangements, bridesmaids touching up lipstick, the photographer snapping candids. Everything feels surreal, like I'm floating through the best dream of my life. My phone buzzes on the vanity. Probably another well-wisher, but I check anyway. A Facebook notification. My stomach drops when I see it's a live video from Sloane. That's weird. She should be here helping me get ready. She's my maid of honor, after all. I tap play without thinking. The video is shaky at first, then stabilizes on, no. No. My brain refuses to process what I'm seeing. Lee's face, flushed and intense. Sloane's voice, breathy and intimate. "Tell me you love me. Tell me I'm the only one." "You know you are, baby." His voice is thick with desire. "It's always been you." The phone slips from my numb fingers, clattering on the marble floor. Someone asks if I'm okay. I can't breathe. The room spins as fragments of reality crash through my denial. Sloane's constant texts with Lee about wedding details. The way they'd both get quiet when I entered a room. All those late nights at the office they'd claim to be working. "Lorelai?" Marley's concerned face swims into view. "What's wrong?" I force myself to pick up the phone, to turn it so they can see. The video continues, brutal in its clarity. Lee and Sloane tangled together on rumpled sheets. Sheets I recognize from our bed. Her dark hair spilling across our pillows. His hands tracing paths on her skin that should have been meant for me. Oh my God. Marley's hand flies to her mouth. How long? "It's live," I whisper. The timestamp confirms it, streaming right now, less than an hour before I'm supposed to walk down the aisle. My best friend and my fiancé, broadcasting their betrayal to the world on my wedding day. The room erupts in chaos. My mom is crying. Someone's calling the wedding planner. I hear fragments of panicked conversation. Guests are already arriving. Can't reach Lee's phone. Need to make an announcement, but I'm frozen, watching the feed with horrible fascination as Sloane turns to face the camera directly. Her perfect red lips curve into a smile I've never seen before. Triumphant. Cruel. "Sorry, Lo. Guess you'll need to find a new maid of honor. And a new fiancé." The video ends. In the sudden silence, my reflection catches my eye again. I barely recognize myself. This shell-shocked woman in white lace, mascara starting to streak down her cheeks. Everything I thought I knew about love, friendship, trust. It's all unraveling like loose threads from my carefully constructed life. My phone buzzes again. A text from Lee. I can explain. A laugh bubbles up in my throat, high and slightly hysterical. 3 words. That's all he has to say? After 6 years together, after everything we built, after I gave him my whole heart, he thinks he can explain? "What do you want to do?" Marley asks softly, squeezing my shoulder. I meet my own eyes in the mirror again. Something shifts in my chest, the initial shock crystallizing into something harder, colder. They thought they could humiliate me like this? That I'd just cry and fall apart while they rode off into their happily ever after? I grab a tissue, carefully blot my tears, and reapply my lipstick with steady hands. "First, I want you to help me out of this dress." My voice sounds strange to my own ears, calm, almost detached. "Then I want you to tell me everything you know about them. Every detail, every suspicion you might have had but didn't want to tell me." And then, I smile at my reflection, but it's not the joyful smile of a bride anymore. It's something sharper, dangerous. Then we're going to make them wish they'd never met me. The diamond on my finger catches the light as I reach for my phone. 300 guests are waiting downstairs, expecting a fairy tale wedding. Instead, They're about to witness the beginning of something very different. I start typing, "I'm sorry to inform you that today's wedding has been canceled." The worst part isn't the pitying looks or the whispered conversations that stop when I enter a room. It's the endless stream of notifications, each one a fresh reminder of how spectacularly my life imploded. I've been staring at my phone for hours, watching the view count on Sloane's video climb higher and higher. "You need to eat something," Marley says, sliding a plate of toast across my kitchen counter. I've been camping out at her place since yesterday, since the non-wedding. The thought of returning to the apartment Lee and I shared makes me physically ill. I need to understand why. My voice is hoarse from crying. 6 years, Marley. 6 years, and he throws it away for her? She hesitates, stirring her coffee. "There's something you should know. I didn't want to tell you when you were already so upset, but..." My phone buzzes. Another text from Lee. "Please let me explain. It's not what you think." "Block him," Marley snaps. "Block them both." Wait. Something in the video preview catches my eye. I scroll back through Sloane's feed, my hands shaking. Look at this. The timestamp on their first photo together, 6 months ago at that charity gala. "The one you couldn't attend because of your mom's surgery?" Exactly. I zoom in on the background. But look where they are. That's the Meridian Hotel's penthouse suite, the one that costs $5,000 a night. Marley frowns. How could Lee afford that on his salary? He couldn't. The pieces start clicking together. Unless I pull up the browser on my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. Lee's investment firm's website loads, showing his smiling face under Senior Portfolio Manager. I scan through client testimonials until I find what I'm looking for. Here. I turn the screen toward Marley. 3 months ago, the SEC launched an investigation into suspicious trading patterns. No charges filed, but several client accounts showed unusual activity. You think Lee was... I think he was stealing. The words taste bitter. And I think Sloane knew. She's been handling PR for his firm since last spring. My phone rings, an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer. "Ms. Harrison?" A man's voice, professional but tense. "This is Percy Johnston with the Financial Crimes Unit. We need to speak with you regarding Lee Mitchell's activities at Beacon Investment Partners." My stomach lurches. I don't know anything about... Several large transfers were made from joint accounts you shared with Mr. Mitchell. Given the timing and nature of these transactions, we need to establish your level of involvement. The room spins. Joint accounts? We only had one, for wedding expenses. Unless... I'll have to call you back, I manage, ending the call. Marley watches me pull up our online banking. My hands are trembling so badly I mistyped the password twice. When the accounts finally load, I feel like I'm going to be sick. "He emptied everything," I whisper. "The wedding fund, our savings, even my personal account. How did he get access to..." "The power of attorney," Marley says quietly. "The one you signed last month for the house purchase." The house, our dream home, the one we'd spent weekends touring, planning where to put the nursery. All a lie, just like everything else. My phone buzzes again. A text from Summer, Sloane's former roommate. "Check your email. There's something you need to see." The email loads slowly, revealing dozens of forwarded messages between Lee and Sloane. My eyes catch on phrases that make my blood run cold. "Transfer the funds before anyone notices." "Keep Lorelei distracted." Once we're in the Caymans. "They were planning this," I say, my voice strange and flat. "The wedding, the video, all of it. It was just a distraction while they cleaned out the accounts." Marley reaches for my hand. "We need to call the police." "No." Something shifts inside me, like a switch being flipped. "Not yet." Lorelei. They thought they were so clever. I scroll through the emails, my mind racing. But they made one mistake. They assumed I was just the clueless fiancé, too love-struck to see what was happening. I open my laptop again, this time logging into my work email. As the firm's compliance officer, I have access to every transaction Lee ever made, every client he contacted, every document he thought he'd deleted. What are you going to do? Marley asks. I think about the look on Sloane's face in that video. So smug, so certain of her victory. About Lee's pathetic, let me explain texts while he drained our accounts. I'm going to show them exactly how clueless I'm not. I start copying files to a secure drive. And when I'm done, they're going to wish they'd never underestimated me. My phone buzzes one more time. Another text from Summer. There's more. Meet me tonight. Come alone. The coffee shop is nearly empty at this hour, just a few students hunched over laptops. I spot Summer in the back corner, her fingers drumming nervously on a manila envelope. She looks different from the last time I saw her. Thinner, shadows under her eyes that makeup can't quite hide. I wasn't sure you'd come, she says as I slide into the booth. Almost didn't. I keep my voice neutral. Considering the last time we talked, you were defending Sloane. She winces. I was wrong. About a lot of things. She pushes the envelope across the table, including what really happened the night she moved out of our apartment. Inside are bank statements, text messages, photos, a paper trail of betrayal going back further than I'd imagined. My hands start shaking when I see the dates. A year? My voice cracks. They've been... While he was proposing to me? Lorelei, it's worse than that. Summer leans forward, lowering her voice. Sloane wasn't just sleeping with Lee. She was helping him move money through shell companies. I found records. The bell above the door chimes. Summer goes rigid, her face draining of color. I turn to see Marley walking in, her expression thunderous. What is she doing here? Summer hisses. I told you to come alone. I followed her. Marley says, sliding into the booth next to me. Because the last person who asked to meet Lorelei alone turned out to be working with Lee. My heart stops. What? Tell her, Marley demands, glaring at Summer. Tell her about the text you sent Lee yesterday. Summer's face crumples. I had to. They have things on me, dirt from when I worked at the firm. If I didn't warn them you were gathering evidence, I feel like I'm drowning. So this meeting, these documents, it's all a setup? Not exactly. Summer pulls out her phone, hands trembling. Yes, they asked me to distract you, but they don't know about these. She pulls up a video, security footage from what looks like an office hallway. I kept copies of everything, including the night Lee and Sloane first discussed how to frame you for the missing client funds. My breath catches. On the screen, Lee paces while Sloane perches on a desk, both illuminated by late-night fluorescence. It's perfect, Sloane says in the video. The power of attorney gives us access to everything. Once the SEC starts investigating, all signs will point to Lorelei making the transfers. And the wedding? Lee asks. The ultimate alibi. Who would suspect a man of stealing from his own bride? Sloane's laugh makes my skin crawl. By the time anyone figures it out, we'll be gone and she'll be facing federal charges. The video ends. I feel Marley's hand gripping mine under the table. Why are you showing me this? I ask Summer. Why switch sides now? Because I found out what they did to my sister. Summer's voice hardens. 3 years ago, she invested her entire inheritance with Lee. When she started asking questions about missing funds, Sloane orchestrated a smear campaign that destroyed her career. She lost everything. My mind races. The documents you brought, they prove this? She nods. Bank records, emails, everything. But we have to move fast. They're planning to leave the country tomorrow night. How do you know that? Because they asked me to book their flights. Summer's smile is bitter. First class to Grand Cayman, departing at 11 p.m. They think I'm still their loyal puppet. Marley leans forward. We should take this to the police. No. The word comes out sharp, surprising even me. Not yet. They want to frame me? Fine, let them think it's working. Lorelei. I need your help, I tell Summer. Both of you. But first, I need to know I can trust you. I meet Summer's eyes. Really trust you. She pulls out another phone. An old flip model. Burner phone. I've been recording every conversation with them for weeks, including one where they discussed which evidence to plant in your home office. My home office, where I keep all my compliance files, where Lee has a key. They're probably there right now, I say, standing abruptly. We need to go, but first, I take out my own phone, pulling up the SEC's tip line. A little insurance policy. I type quickly, potential fraud at Beacon Investments, evidence of embezzlement and client theft, whistleblower willing to cooperate. What are you doing? Marley asks, making sure they can't bury this even if they destroy the evidence. I hit send, then look at Summer. You said they're planning to frame me? Let's see how their plan holds up when I'm the one who reported them first. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Smart move, Lorelai. But you're not the only one who can play this game. Check your email. X. The email loads while we're in Marley's car, racing toward my apartment. My hands go numb as I read it. You don't know the whole story. The message begins. Lee and Sloan aren't working alone. Meet me at the Riverside Park gazebo in 30 minutes if you want to know who's really pulling the strings. Xander. It's a trap, Marley says, taking a sharp turn. Has to be. Wait. I grab her arm. Xander, he was Lee's old partner at Beacon before he quit last year. Lee said he had a breakdown, but what if he didn't? Summer leans forward from the back seat. What if he discovered something? I check the time. 25 minutes until the meeting. 10 minutes to my apartment. The choice tears at me. Check the office or meet Xander. Split up, I decide. Marley, take Summer to my place. Check the office, but don't touch anything. Just document whatever they've planted. I'll meet Xander. Alone? After what happened with Summer? He's taking a huge risk contacting me. I pull up his resignation letter on my phone. Look at the date. He quit right after the first suspicious transfer started. He must know something. Marley pulls over, her face tight with worry. Fine. But you text me every 5 minutes, and at the first sign of trouble, I run. I squeeze her hand. I promise. The park is deserted when I arrive, streetlights casting long shadows across wet grass. The gazebo looks ghostly in the darkness, and for a moment I think I've been stood up. Then a figure emerges from the shadows. Careful, Xander says softly. We're being watched. He looks nothing like the polished executive I remember. His clothes are rumpled, his eyes haunted. But there's something else. A fierce intensity that makes me believe him. Who's watching? Percy Johnston, SEC investigator. Xander's laugh is bitter. At least that's what he claims to be. My stomach drops. What do you mean? The real Percy Johnston died 6 months ago. Whoever called you is working with them. He hands me a file. These are the real SEC reports. Notice anything missing? I scan the documents, my heart pounding. There's no official investigation. The whole thing is fake, just like the evidence they're planting in your office right now. He checks his phone. Which is why we need to move fast. Why are you helping me? His expression darkens. Because they destroyed my life too. When I found out what they were doing with client funds, Lee and Sloan didn't just force me out. They manufactured a mental health crisis, had me committed. By the time I got out, my reputation was ruined. But you kept proof. Better. He pulls out a USB drive. I kept their playbook. Every scam, every frame job, every shell company, including the one they're using to set you up. My phone buzzes. Marley. Office clear, but weird. Everything's too normal. Like someone went through and cleaned. They're covering their tracks, Xander says, reading over my shoulder. Next they'll... A twig snaps behind us. We both freeze. Ms. Harrison? A familiar voice calls out. This is Percy Johnston. We need to talk. Xander grabs my arm. Back door. Now. We slip out the gazebo's rear entrance as footsteps approach. My heart pounds as we crouch behind a hedge. Think carefully about who you trust. The fake Percy calls out. Your friend Xander isn't telling you everything. I turn to Xander, who's typing frantically on his phone. What's he talking about? No time? He sends the message, then hands me the USB drive. Everything you need is here, but don't use it yet. Wait for my signal. What signal? Xander. Tomorrow night, when they try to leave. He grips my shoulders. Promise me you won't move before then. No matter what you hear, what evidence shows up, it has to be tomorrow night. Flashlight beams sweep the garden. Xander pushes me toward the park exit. Go, I'll distract them. I run, his words echoing in my head. My phone buzzes again. Summer this time. Found something in your office trash. Shredded documents, some pieces mention offshore accounts in your name. Another text follows immediately. Lorelei, what do you know about Cayman First Securities? My blood runs cold. That's the company name on the USB drive Xander just gave me. I stare at the drive in my shaking hand, doubt creeping in. Who's really playing who? And what happens tomorrow night that's so important? A final text comes through. This one from an unknown number. Tick-tock, Lorelei. Better decide who you trust before time runs out. For all of us. I spend the night piecing together shredded documents on Marley's living room floor, my fingers stained with ink and my mind racing. The fragments tell a story I'm not sure I want to understand. This can't be right. I mutter, arranging another strip of paper. These transfers, they're from 3 years ago. Marley looks up from her laptop. Before you even met Lee? Before he joined Beacon Investments. I hold up 2 matching pieces, but the account number matches the one Xander showed me. Summer paces behind us, phone pressed to her ear. Still no answer from Xander. His phone's going straight to voicemail. My hands shake as I line up another fragment. The letterhead slowly comes into focus. Cayman First Securities. Client name, Lorelei Harrison. Someone opened accounts in my name. My voice sounds distant, strange. Years before Lee and I met, like they chose me. That's impossible. Marley starts, but her phone interrupts with a text. Her face goes pale. Lorelei, you need to see this. It's a video message from Sloan. She's sitting in what looks like a hotel room, wearing the same smug smile from the wedding day video. But there's something different in her eyes now. Fear? By now you've probably figured out some of it, she says. But you're asking the wrong questions. Don't ask who opened those accounts. Ask who told Lee to pursue you in the first place. Ask who suggested hiring you as compliance officer. Ask yourself why. The video cuts off abruptly. Seconds later, my phone rings, an unknown number. Don't answer it, Summer warns. But I'm already hitting accept. Hello? Ms. Harrison. The fake Percy's voice is smooth, professional. I believe it's time we met in person. Bring the USB drive Xander gave you. The real question, he continues, is whether you want to be a victim or an accomplice. Your choice, but choose quickly. The line goes dead. My phone immediately pings with an address. It's a setup, Marley insists. You can't go. Look at this. Summer holds up another reconstructed document. These signature cards. Lorelei, this is your handwriting. Perfect matches from 3 years ago. That's not possible. But even as I say it, memories surface. Job interviews I don't quite remember clearly. Chance meetings that seem scripted in retrospect. Unless my phone buzzes again. A photo from Lee. Me, 3 years ago at a coffee shop. In the background, barely visible, is Xander. The caption reads, "Still trust him?" I need to know. I stand up, grabbing my coat. All of it, even if what? Marley blocks my path. Even if it gets you killed? They're not just thieves, Lorelei. These people are dangerous. They made me fall in love with a lie. My voice breaks. They stole years of my life. I need to know why. Then we go together, Summer says. I'll drive. The address leads us to an abandoned office building. As we pull up, my phone lights up with a call from Xander. "Don't go in," he says without preamble. "It's not what you think. The whole thing, Lee, Sloan, the accounts, it's bigger than—" A gunshot cracks through the phone line. Then silence. "Xander?" My hands are shaking so badly I nearly drop the phone. "Xander?" A new voice comes on the line. Sloan's. "Time's up, Lo. Front door's open. Come alone or Xander won't be the only casualty." I'm out of the car before Marley can grab me. "Call the real police," I tell them. "The actual SEC. Anyone, just give me 15 minutes. Lorelai, wait." But I'm already running toward the building, the USB drive heavy in my pocket. The front door creaks open at my touch. Emergency lights cast a sickly glow through empty halls. "Hello?" My voice echoes. "I'm here. I brought what you wanted." "Third floor." Sloane's voice floats down the stairwell. "Better hurry." I take the stairs 2 at a time, adrenaline drowning out fear. At the 3rd floor landing, I pause. Light spills from under an office door. My phone buzzes one last time. A text from Lee. "I'm sorry, I never meant for it to go this far. Whatever happens next, remember I did love you. In my way." The office door swings open before I can respond. Sloane stands in the doorway, but she's not alone. Behind her, a familiar figure steps into the light. "Hello, Lorelai," says the real Percy Johnston. "We've been waiting a very long time for this moment." And suddenly I understand. This was never about the money. It was about something much, much worse. The real Percy Johnston looks exactly like his ID photo, the one Xander showed me of the supposedly dead investigator. My mind spins, trying to make sense of it all. Confused? Sloane's smirk doesn't quite hide her nervousness. "You should see your face right now." "The USB drive," Percy says, holding out his hand. "Please." I clutch it tighter. "Where's Xander?" "Safe, for now." He steps closer, though that could change depending on your cooperation. The office is bare except for a laptop on a desk. On its screen, security camera feeds show the building's entrance. I spot Marley and Summer in their car, phones to their ears. "Your friends won't reach anyone," Percy says. "All calls from this area are being redirected." "Why me?" The question bursts out. "All this elaborate setup, years of planning, why?" "Because you were perfect." Sloane's voice turns bitter. The ideal mark. Smart enough to get the compliance position, naive enough to trust Lee, and just ambitious enough to ignore red flags. "We needed someone above suspicion," Percy adds. "Someone whose signature on those accounts would withstand scrutiny. The perfect scapegoat when the investigation finally launched." My throat tightens. Investigation into what? "Oh, honey?" Sloane laughs. "You really think this was about stealing from investment accounts? Look at the USB drive you're holding. Really look at it." I pull it out. In the harsh fluorescent light, I notice something I missed before. Tiny letters etched on the side. Project Oracle. Percy's expression hardens. That drive contains evidence of a money laundering operation spanning 5 continents. Billions in criminal funds, cleaned through seemingly legitimate investment firms. Your signature is on every key document. I never signed. Yes, you did. Every time you approved a compliance report. Every time you signed off on a transfer. All carefully designed to implicate you while keeping the real operation hidden. My hands shake. And Lee played his part perfectly. Sloane's smile falters slightly. Though he did make one mistake. "He fell in love with you," Percy says. "Started having doubts. That's why we needed to accelerate the timeline." The wedding, the video, the public humiliation, all orchestrated to discredit me before I could discover the truth. A noise from the hallway makes us all turn. Footsteps. "Right on time," Percy says. The door opens. Lee walks in, looking haunted. When he sees me, his face crumples. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "They have my sister." Enough talking. Percy pulls out a gun. The drive, Lorelei. Now. Time seems to slow. I look at Lee, seeing him clearly for the first time. Not the man I loved, but a trapped animal willing to sacrifice anyone to save himself. At Sloane, whose fear now outweighs her arrogance. At Percy, whose professional mask can't quite hide his desperation. They're all terrified. But of what? My phone vibrates in my pocket. A pattern I recognize. Marley's signal. You know what I don't understand? I say, stepping toward the laptop. If you're so smart, how did you miss the obvious? Percy's gun follows me. Don't move. You chose me because I was naive, trusting, easy to manipulate. Another step. But you forgot something crucial. Last warning, Percy growls. I smile, feeling strangely calm. You forgot to check who my best friend works for. The window explodes inward as a SWAT team rappels into the room. Percy spins, but it's too late. The gun flies from his hand as officers tackle him. FBI, everyone down! Sloane screams. Lee drops to his knees. And through the chaos, Marley walks in, holding up her badge. Federal agent, she says. 5 years undercover tracking Project Oracle. Thanks for finally leading us to the top. My legs give out. Marley catches me before I hit the floor. The whole time? I whisper. You knew? Not everything. She squeezes my hand. But enough to know you needed protection. Why do you think I pushed so hard to be your maid of honor instead of Sloane? As handcuffs click around Percy's wrists, my phone buzzes one final time. A message from Xander. Safe. Signal received. Check the hidden partition on the drive. You're not going to believe what else they were hiding. I look at the USB drive still clutched in my hand, then at Lee being led away in cuffs, at Sloane's mascara-streaked face as she's read her rights, at Percy, whose mask has finally cracked to reveal pure fury. Ready to end this? Marley asks. I think of all the lies, all the manipulation, all the carefully orchestrated betrayals, of the life I thought I was building, now revealed as an elaborate trap. No, I say, gripping the drive tighter. First, I want to know exactly what's on this thing. Then we end it, on my terms. The hidden partition on the drive contains thousands of files, but one folder catches my eye immediately. Contingency. Inside is a video file dated tomorrow, the day Lee and Sloane plan to flee. Play it, Marley says. We're in a secure FBI office, surrounded by evidence boards and coffee cups. Dawn light filters through bulletproof windows. The video starts. It's Percy, sitting at a desk much like this one. If you're watching this, he says, something's gone wrong. But don't think you've won. Project Oracle isn't just about money laundering. The real operation begins at midnight tonight, with or without us. My hands clench. What operation? More files reveal the truth. Project Oracle isn't just cleaning criminal money. It's using that money to buy judges, politicians, regulators, creating an invisible network of corruption. The transfers are scheduled to start automatically. Xander says, pointing to a timeline. He joined us an hour ago, sporting a bandaged arm and fierce determination. Once they do, the whole system becomes self-sustaining. Untouchable. Unless we stop it. Marley pulls up bank records. But we need authentication from someone with executive access. Lee, I whisper. He's not talking. Marley looks grim. None of them are. They're more scared of their bosses than prison. I stare at Lee's booking photo on the evidence board. The man I thought I knew. The life I thought we'd have. Let me talk to him. Lorelei, I know him. My voice stays steady. I know his tells, his weaknesses, and he knows what I'm capable of now. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting across from Lee in an interview room. He looks smaller somehow, defeated. They'll kill my sister, he says before I can speak. No, they won't. I slide over my phone, showing him a photo. Because she's already safe. FBI extracted her an hour ago. His face crumples. How did you... Because unlike you, I actually care about protecting the people I love. The words taste like ashes. Now tell me how to stop the transfers. You don't understand what they'll do. I understand exactly what they'll do. I lean forward. Because I found the other contingency files, Lee. The ones showing what happens to loose ends when operations like this go wrong. He flinches. Help us, I say softly. Or watch everything burn. Your choice. His hands shake as he reaches for a pen. The next hours blur into a frenzy of activity. Codes entered, accounts frozen, dominoes carefully arranged. By nightfall, we're gathered in a command center, watching screens full of transaction data. 1 minute to midnight, Marley announces. I think of Percy's smug face, of Sloane's cruel smile, of all the careful lies designed to break me. But mostly I think of that morning in the bridal suite, watching my world shatter on a phone screen. 30 seconds. Xander grips my shoulder. Summer holds my hand. Marley counts down. Now. I press enter. For a moment, nothing happens. Then accounts start freezing, one after another. Transactions fail. Safety protocols trigger. The invisible empire begins to crumble. It's working. Xander breathes. My phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. You have no idea what you've done. Another follows. This isn't over. Actually, I type back. It is. I think of all the moments that led here. The proposal I once thought was perfect. The friendship I believed was unshakable. The future I planned so carefully. Multiple arrests in progress. Someone calls out. London, Singapore, Dubai. Lorelei. Marley's voice is gentle. We got them. The screens fill with confirmation after confirmation. Project Oracle, the scheme that stole years of my life, dissolves into frozen accounts and arrest warrants. My phone buzzes one last time. A video call from Sloane. I answer. She's in her cell, all pretense gone. How does it feel? She asks. Destroying everything we built? You didn't build anything. My voice is calm, certain. You just stole and lied and hurt people, and now everyone knows exactly who you are. We're not so different, she tries. You could have... I end the call. Around me, agents celebrate as reports flood in. Summer hugs me, crying. Xander starts explaining the scope of what we've uncovered. Marley squeezes my hand. But I'm looking at my reflection in the darkened window. At the woman who emerged from the ashes of that wedding day. The one who turned betrayal into justice, heartbreak into strength. You okay? Marley asks softly. I smile. Not the broken smile from the bridal suite, but something fiercer, more real. I am now. The morning sun streams through my office window as I pack the last of my personal items. Not running away this time, moving forward. The cardboard box holds carefully chosen pieces of my past. Photos of real friendships, mementos of genuine victories. My phone buzzes. A news alert. Project Oracle mastermind found dead in prison cell. Percy's face stares up from the screen. Suicide, they're saying. But the message that follows suggests otherwise. Still think it's over? The unknown number again. I don't respond. Instead, I open my laptop and type in the encryption key Xander helped me create. One last piece of insurance. Everything I discovered about Project Oracle's true reach, set to automatically release if anything happens to me. A knock at my door. Ready? Marley asks. Almost. I glance at my now empty compliance officer desk. Hard to believe this was all a setup from the beginning. Not everything. She perches on the edge of my desk. They chose you because you were good at your job. Too good, as it turned out. I pick up a framed photo. Me and Sloane at her birthday last year. The glass is cracked, but I keep it as a reminder. You know what's strange? I actually feel sorry for her. Why? Because she'll never know what real friendship feels like. I drop the photo in the trash. Or real love. Everything's just transactions to her. My phone buzzes again. Summer. You need to see this. She's forwarded an email chain, messages between Lee and Sloan from the day before our wedding. My hands shake as I read. I can't go through with it, Lee wrote. We need to tell her the truth. Sloan's response. You know what happens if you back out. To both of you. They threatened you too, I realize. That's why you looked so scared in the video. The last email is from Lee to Percy. I'm done. After tomorrow's ceremony, I'm telling Lorelai everything. Whatever happens, happens. He was going to confess, Marley says softly. That's why they had to move up the timeline. A bitter laugh escapes me. Is that supposed to make it better? No, but maybe it helps explain why he cooperated so quickly in the end. I think about Lee in that interview room, giving up everything to save his sister. About Sloane's mask finally cracking. About Percy's desperate final gambit. They were all trapped in their own lies, I say, just like I was. Another knock. Xander enters, looking more like his old self in a crisp suit. Security footage from Percy's cell just leaked. It wasn't suicide. I know. I show him the threatening text. They're trying to scare us into silence. Are you scared? Marley asks. I consider the question, remembering that moment in the bridal suite when my world first cracked open. The devastation, the betrayal, the helplessness. No, I realize. Not anymore. My phone rings, an unknown number, but this time I know exactly who it is. Hello, Marcus, I say, naming the one person who never appeared in any document, any video, any trail. Project Oracle's true architect. Silence then. Impressive. How did you know? Because Percy's dead, Sloane's in custody, and Lee's cooperating. But someone's still pulling strings. Someone who's been watching me since before I even met Lee. Clever girl. His voice is smooth, amused. We could use someone like you. That's your pitch? After everything? Consider it a promotion. Your skills, my resources. Here's my counteroffer. I hit send on my laptop. Check your inbox. A pause. Then, what did you do? Released everything. Every account, every connection, every secret player. It's all public now. My voice stays steady. You can't threaten what's already exposed. The line goes dead. Marley's phone immediately lights up with alerts. Xander grabs his laptop, watching the information cascade across social media, news sites, federal channels. It's really over, Summer whispers from the doorway. I pick up my box of carefully chosen memories, looking around the office one last time. Not at what was taken from me, but at what I've reclaimed. No, I say, thinking of all the people like me out there, trapped in beautiful lies. It's just beginning. I walk out into the sunlight, leaving the broken pieces of my old life behind. Ahead lies something better than revenge, better than justice, the truth. And this time, it's mine to tell.
I still remember the exact moment I thought I had everything figured out. Standing in our kitchen on a Tuesday evening, admiring how the diamond on my finger caught the light while Greg chopped vegetables for dinner. 3 carats, emerald cut, white gold band. The ring I'd once casually pointed out in a jewelry store window 18 months ago. What's that smile about? Greg asked, knife pausing mid-slice through a red pepper. Just thinking about how in 6 months, I'll be Mrs. Harvey. The words felt both thrilling and strange in my mouth. Chelsea Harvey. After 29 years as Chelsea Winters, I was ready for the change. Greg set down his knife and crossed the kitchen, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. His cologne, the expensive one I'd given him for Christmas, enveloped me as he pressed his lips to my neck. 6 months is too long, he murmured. I'd marry you tomorrow if we could. I leaned back against his chest, savoring the warmth. Your mother would never forgive us if we eloped. True, Margaret Harvey expects nothing less than the society wedding of the season. He chuckled, returning to his chopping. Speaking of which, Did you finalize that appointment with the florist? Thursday at 2, and the cake tasting is next Tuesday. I pulled up the wedding planning spreadsheet on my tablet, color-coded, meticulously organized, everything in its place. Oh, and Liz wants to know if we've decided on the final guest count for the invitations. Something flickered across Greg's face, so brief I almost missed it. Tension around his eyes, a slight tightening of his jaw. About that, he said, focusing intently on the vegetables. I was thinking we should keep it under 200. 200? I laughed. Greg, your mother's list alone has nearly that many. Add my family, our friends. We'll trim it down. His tone was sharper than usual. It's getting out of hand. I set down my tablet, studying him. Is everything okay? You seem tense. Just work stuff. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The Richardson merger is a nightmare. Before I could press further, his phone buzzed. Greg wiped his hands and checked the screen, his body language shifting instantly. I need to take this, he said, already walking toward our bedroom. It's Roland about the merger. I nodded, used to these interruptions. As a junior partner at his law firm, Greg was always on call, but something about his retreating back made my stomach tighten. The bedroom door closed. I stood alone in our kitchen, surrounded by half-chopped vegetables and silence. I wasn't proud of what I did next. I moved closer to the bedroom door, telling myself I just needed to know if I should continue dinner prep or if we'd be ordering in. But the truth was simpler. Something felt off. Greg's voice came through muffled but audible. Can't talk about this now. She's right outside. A pause. No, she doesn't suspect anything. Just stick to the plan. My heart stuttered. Plan? What plan? It's all set for June 15th. Yes, at the Westbrook. Another pause. Look, I've got to go. I'll call you tomorrow. June 15th, our wedding date, at the Westbrook Hotel where we'd booked the ballroom 11 months ago. I hurried back to the counter before Greg emerged, pretending to study the tablet. My hands trembled slightly. Sorry about that, he said, returning to the cutting board. Roland's panicking about the presentation tomorrow. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Greg resumed chopping, humming under his breath like nothing had happened. That night, lying beside him in bed, I stared at the ceiling while his breathing deepened into sleep. I told myself I was being paranoid. Greg loved me. We were getting married in 6 months. Whatever that call was about, it had a reasonable explanation. But at 2:17 a.m., with Greg snoring softly beside me, I found myself scrolling through his recent texts with Roland. Nothing suspicious, just work talk and plans for a golf game next weekend. I was about to put his phone down when a text from Paisley appeared. Paisley Whitney, Greg's childhood friend, the gorgeous brunette who always hugged him a beat too long at parties. The woman who, despite my best efforts, made me feel like an outsider in conversations peppered with inside jokes and shared memories. Confirmed the thing we discussed. All good for the 15th. She'll never know. My finger hovered over the message. Opening it would mark it as read. Greg would know I'd snooped. I set the phone down, heart racing. She'll never know. The words echoed in my head as I stared at the ceiling, the diamond on my finger suddenly feeling heavy and cold. The next morning, I kissed Greg goodbye as he left for work, smiling like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't lain awake all night, like I wasn't planning to take a sick day and drive to Paisley's boutique downtown. I love you, he said at the door, straightening his tie. Love you too, I replied automatically. As his car pulled away, I leaned against the doorframe, wondering if either of us had meant it. I didn't go to Paisley's boutique. At the last minute, standing in our foyer with car keys in hand, I realized confronting her would only give her a chance to lie. Instead, I drove to my office, called in sick, then sat in the parking lot staring at my phone. The text from Paisley kept replaying in my mind. She'll never know. 3 words that cracked the foundation of everything I thought was solid. I opened my laptop and logged into our shared email account, the one we'd created for wedding planning. My hands were steady now, my mind clear with purpose. If there was something to find, I'd find it. Most of the emails were exactly what you'd expect. Confirmations from vendors, questions about menu options, seating chart drafts. Nothing suspicious. Until I found it. An email from the Westbrook Hotel's event coordinator, dated 3 weeks ago. Dear Mr. Harvey, thank you for your updated guest list for the June 15th celebration. We've noted the changes and will adjust the seating chart accordingly. Please confirm the final head count by May 1st. I clicked on the attachment. A spreadsheet opened, listing names in alphabetical order. 212 guests. I scrolled through, recognizing Greg's family members, colleagues from his firm, college friends. Paisley's name was there, of course. Roland's, too. My finger froze on the scroll wheel. My name wasn't on the list, not just missing from the list. My parents weren't there either. Not Liz, not a single person from my side. I checked again, scrolling more slowly. Nothing. No one connected to me appeared anywhere on the guest list for my own wedding. My phone buzzed with a text from Greg. How are you feeling? Need me to bring home soup? I stared at his message, this casual act of caring from a man who'd apparently planned a wedding without me. I'm fine, I typed back. Just a headache. 3 dots appeared as he typed his response. Take it easy. Love you. I set the phone down without replying. By noon, I'd gone through every email in the account. There were dozens of communications about the wedding that Greg had never mentioned. Details he'd finalized without consulting me. Decisions made as if my opinion didn't matter, or as if I wouldn't be there. I called Liz. Hey, Sickie, she answered. Shouldn't you be in bed watching trashy TV? I need to ask you something, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Has Greg talked to you about the wedding lately? Not really. Why? He hasn't mentioned any changes to the date or anything? A pause. Chelsea, what's going on? I don't know yet. I took a deep breath. But I need a favor. Can you call the Westbrook and ask about an event on June 15th? Just say you're confirming details for the Harvey celebration. Okay, but please, Liz, don't use my name. Just ask what kind of event it is. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. So I called, Liz said without preamble. The woman at the Westbrook was super helpful. The Harvey event on June 15th is a corporate celebration for the law firm's merger with Richardson Group. The car suddenly felt too small. I rolled down the window, gulping air. Chelsea, you still there? It's not a wedding, I whispered. No, definitely not. She said it's been planned as a corporate event from the beginning. Booked 8 months ago. 8 months ago, when Greg and I were already engaged, when we were supposedly looking at wedding venues together. There's more, Liz continued, her voice gentle. I asked if there was any other event for Greg Harvey at the hotel this year. She checked and said no. The world tilted sideways. He's not planning to marry me. Maybe there's an explanation, Liz offered, but her tone betrayed her doubt. Maybe he's planning a surprise? A surprise wedding where I'm not on the guest list? My laugh sounded hollow even to my own ears. Where my family isn't invited. Come over, Liz said. You shouldn't be alone right now. I need to think. After hanging up, I sat motionless, watching people come and go from the office building. Normal people having normal days. People whose fiancés weren't planning elaborate celebrations without them. My phone rang again. Roland's name flashed on the screen. I answered without thinking. Chelsea, hey, is Greg with you? Roland sounded rushed. No, I'm not feeling well. I stayed home. Damn, he's not answering his phone, and we need to finalize some details for the 15th. The caterer needs a decision on the champagne for the toast. My heart pounded. The toast? Yeah, when Greg announces the merger, it's his big moment. First major deal as partner. He wants everything perfect. Of course, I managed. His big moment. Sorry to bother you with this. I know you're not involved in the planning. Greg wanted to keep you out of it so you wouldn't have to deal with the stress. How considerate. Actually, Roland, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded, I've been helping with some details. Remind me, what's the dress code again? Black tie, obviously. Greg's been obsessing over it for months. Says it's the most important night of his life. The most important night of his life. Not our wedding day, a corporate party. Thanks, Roland. I'll tell him you called. I hung up and started the car. As I pulled out of the parking lot, my engagement ring caught the sunlight, sending prisms dancing across the dashboard. By the time I reached our apartment, I knew exactly what I needed to do next. Our apartment felt different when I returned, smaller, filled with lies. I moved through the rooms like a detective, seeing everything with new eyes. The framed photo of us in Cabo, Greg's arm around my waist, my face turned up to his in adoration. The wedding magazines stacked neatly on the coffee table, the save the date sample cards we'd been discussing just last week, props, all of it. I sat on our bed, the bed where we'd made love 2 nights ago, where he'd whispered plans for our future, and tried to make sense of it all. Why maintain this elaborate charade? Why propose, plan a fake wedding, build a life with me if he didn't want to marry me? The engagement ring felt like it was burning my finger. I twisted it off and held it up to the light. 3 carats of empty promises. My phone buzzed with a text from Greg. Meeting running late. Home by 7. Love you. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and began searching through our photos from the past year. There were hundreds. Dinners, vacations, parties with friends. I studied Greg's face in each one, looking for signs I'd missed. Had he been faking it all along? Was anything real? In one photo from New Year's Eve, I noticed something I hadn't before. While I beamed at the camera, Greg was looking slightly to the side, at Paisley, who stood just out of frame in the next photo. I closed the laptop and did what I should have done hours ago. I called my mother. "Chelsea, what a nice surprise," she answered, her voice instantly soothing. "Mom, My voice cracked. I hadn't realized how close to breaking I was until I heard her voice. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" The whole story spilled out. The mysterious text, the guest list without my name, Roland's call about the corporate party. With each detail, my mother's silence grew heavier. "I don't understand why he would do this," I finished, wiping tears from my cheeks. "Oh, honey." Her voice was gentle but firm. "You need to confront him. What if I'm wrong? What if there's an explanation? Then you'll hear it from him. But Chelsea, trust your instincts. They've always been good." After we hung up, I wandered into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, staring blankly at its contents. On the top shelf sat a bottle of champagne, the expensive kind Greg liked. Saved for a special occasion, he'd said. Like celebrating a successful merger, perhaps. I grabbed the bottle and a glass, then settled on the couch. One glass turned into 2 as I waited, rehearsing what I would say when he walked through the door. At 6:45, my phone rang. "Liz, I did something," she said without greeting. "Don't be mad." My stomach dropped. "What did you do?" I called Krista Burns, our mutual friend who worked at Greg's law firm. "Why would you?" "Because she knows things, Chelsea. She's at the firm every day. She hears things." I set down my glass. "And?" "She's coming over to my place now. You should too. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Liz's living room, facing Krista. Her expression was a mixture of pity and discomfort that made my skin crawl. Just tell me, I said. Krista twisted her hands in her lap. I didn't know how to tell you this. I thought maybe it wasn't my place. Tell me what? The merger celebration is real, she said slowly. But there's more to it. Greg's been seeing someone at the firm, Meredith, from corporate accounts. The room tilted slightly. Seeing someone, you mean? They've been together for about 4 months. Everyone at the office knows. 4 months, while he was planning our wedding, while he was sleeping in our bed. There's a rumor, Krista continued, her voice dropping, that he's going to announce their engagement at the party, after the merger announcement. The champagne churned in my stomach. He's going to propose to someone else at the party he told me was our wedding date. Liz moved to sit beside me, her arm around my shoulders. I'm so sorry, Chelsea. Does everyone know? I asked, my voice small. About me, I mean. Do they all know I'm being played for a fool? Krista looked away. Not everyone, but some people, yes. The humiliation burned worse than the betrayal. Strangers pitying me, laughing behind my back while I picked out flower arrangements and cake flavors. I need to go, I said suddenly, standing up. You can't confront him like this, Liz said, grabbing my arm. You're upset. You've been drinking. I'm not going to confront him. A strange calm settled over me. Not yet. Back in my car, I sat for a long moment before starting the engine. The engagement ring sat heavy in my pocket where I'd stuffed it earlier. 3 carats, emerald cut, white gold band. I drove to a small jewelry store downtown, one I knew stayed open late. The elderly appraiser examined the ring carefully, turning it under a special light. Beautiful piece, he said. May I ask why you're selling? It doesn't fit anymore, I replied. He named a price, less than I'd hoped, more than I'd feared. Enough. I'll take it, I said. Walking out with a check instead of a ring, I felt lighter, the first step towards something, though I wasn't sure what yet. My phone buzzed with a text from Greg. Just got home. Where are you? I typed back. With Liz, girl stuff. Don't wait up. Then I called Paisley. Chelsea? She sounded surprised. Is everything okay? Actually, no, I said, my voice steady. We need to talk. Tomorrow, about Greg. There was a long pause before she answered. I think you're right. It's time. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face sleeping next to Greg, pretending everything was normal while my insides twisted with betrayal. Instead, I crashed on Liz's couch, staring at the ceiling until dawn broke through the blinds. You look like hell, Liz said, handing me coffee in her chipped girl boss mug. Thanks. I took a sip, wincing at the strength. Liz always made coffee that could strip paint. What's the plan with Paisley? I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Greg, 6 texts ranging from concerned to irritated. Nothing from Paisley yet. I'm meeting her at Blackbird Cafe at 10. I set down the mug. I need to know how deep this goes, how long she's known. And then what? Liz perched on the arm of the couch. You confront Greg? I shook my head. Not yet. I need more information first. Information for what? The question hung between us. What exactly was I planning? To catch Greg in the act? To publicly humiliate him the way he'd humiliated me? I don't know, I admitted, but I'm done being the clueless fiancé. At 9:55, I walked into Blackbird Cafe. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries turned my stomach. Greg and I had spent countless Sunday mornings here, planning our future over croissants and lattes. Paisley was already seated in a corner booth, fidgeting with a sugar packet. She looked up when I approached, her expression guarded. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. I ordered you a vanilla latte, she said. pushing a steaming mug toward me. My usual order. Of course she knew it. "How long have you known?" I asked, skipping the small talk. Paisley's eyes dropped to the table. "Known what? That Greg's been cheating on me, that our wedding is a sham, that he's planning to propose to someone else." Her head snapped up. "Propose? To who?" "Meredith from his office." Paisley's face went through a series of emotions: shock, confusion, then something like anger. "That's not what he told me." "What did he tell you?" She hesitated, twisting the sugar packet until it burst, white granules spilling across the dark table. "That he was having doubts about marrying you, that he needed time. The party at the Westbrook was supposed to be a celebration of the merger, yes, but also a way to buy time while he figured things out. By lying to me? By letting me continue planning a wedding that was never going to happen? He said he didn't want to hurt you." Her voice was small. "He cares about you, Chelsea. He just..." "Don't?" My voice cut through the cafe, sharper than I intended. A few heads turned our way. I lowered my voice. "Don't tell me he cares about me. Men who care don't do this." Paisley looked genuinely distressed. "I swear I didn't know about Meredith or any proposal plans." I studied her face, searching for deception. Either she was telling the truth or she was an exceptional actress. What was the text about? The one saying, "She'll never know"? Paisley flushed. "The party? He didn't want you to know it wasn't really your wedding date. He was going to suggest postponing a few weeks before, claim a work emergency." "And you helped him with this plan?" "I told him it was wrong," she said quickly. "I told him to be honest with you." "But you still helped him." The betrayal stung fresh. Paisley had been in our lives for years. I'd invited her into my home, shared meals with her, trusted her. "I've known Greg since we were kids," she said, as if that explained everything. "But I never wanted to see you hurt." Yet, here we are. Paisley reached across the table, her fingers stopping just short of mine. "What are you going to do?" "I haven't decided yet." I took a sip of the latte she'd ordered me. It tasted like cardboard. "But I need to know everything. When did this start?" The doubts, the cheating, all of it. Paisley's story unfolded between sips of cooling coffee. Greg's cold feet had started months ago, around Christmas. The Meredith affair was news to Paisley, but she wasn't entirely surprised. There had been rumors about Greg's wandering eye long before he met me, rumors Paisley had dismissed as jealousy from others. "There's something else," she said finally. "Something I probably should have told you a long time ago." My stomach clenched. "What?" "Greg and we were together once, years ago before he met you. It didn't work out, but you still have feelings for him." The pieces clicked into place. Paisley's lingering hugs, her constant presence, the way she always managed to be included in our plans. She didn't deny it. "It doesn't matter how I feel. He chose you." "Did he?" I laughed bitterly, "because it seems like he's choosing Meredith now." As I walked out of the cafe, my phone buzzed with a text from Greg. "Where are you? I'm worried. Please come home so we can talk." Home. The word felt hollow now. Instead of responding, I called Roland. "Chelsea?" He sounded surprised. "Everything okay?" "Actually, I need a favor. It's about the party at the Westbrook." "What about it?" "I want to help with the planning. It's important to Greg, which means it's important to me." There was a pause. "Are you sure?" "Greg was pretty clear about keeping you out of it." "I'm sure." My voice was steady. "I want to surprise him." After hanging up, I stood on the sidewalk, watching people rush past. Normal people with normal lives. People who weren't plotting. Whatever it was, I was plotting. My phone buzzed again. A text from Liz. "How did it go with Paisley?" I typed back, "I need your help with something." something that might be a little crazy. Her response was immediate. I'm in. I finally went home that afternoon. The apartment was empty. Greg had left a note saying he had meetings all day. Perfect. I needed space to think, to plan. I sat cross-legged on our bed, laptop open, staring at the email Roland had forwarded, the complete planning details for the Westbrook event. Everything from the menu, filet mignon, Greg's favorite, to the seating chart, Meredith at the head table, right beside Greg, to the minute-by-minute schedule. 9:45 p.m., GH speech, plus special announcement. The special announcement made my stomach clench. I now knew exactly what it was. My phone buzzed with a text from Liz. Operation Karma is a go. What's next? I smiled despite everything. Liz had been my rock through this nightmare, ready to help me without question. I typed back, working on it. Meet me at your place at 7? As I closed my laptop, something caught my eye. The framed photo on our nightstand. Greg and me in Aspen last winter, snowflakes catching in my hair as he kissed my cheek. We looked happy. We had been happy, hadn't we? I picked up the frame, studying Greg's face. Had he been faking it even then? Had any of it been real? The sound of keys in the door jolted me back to reality. I shoved the laptop under the covers just as Greg walked into the bedroom. There you are. Relief washed over his face. I've been worried sick. Sorry, I said, forcing a smile. Girl emergency. Liz was having a crisis. He sat beside me on the bed, taking my hands in his. His touch, once comforting, now made my skin crawl. You could have called, he said, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. Then he frowned. Where's your ring? I'd forgotten about the ring I'd sold yesterday. I took it to be cleaned, I lied smoothly. It was looking a little dull. Greg nodded, seemingly satisfied. I missed you last night. I missed you too. The words tasted like ash. He leaned in to kiss me, and I let him, fighting the urge to pull away. His lips moved to my neck, his intentions clear. I can't, I said, pulling back. I'm not feeling well. That's part of why I stayed at Liz's. Concern creased his brow. What's wrong? Just a stomach ache. At least that wasn't a lie. My stomach had been in knots for days. Poor baby. He kissed my forehead. Get some rest. I need to head back to the office anyway. Big presentation tomorrow. After he left, I showered, scrubbing at my skin as if I could wash away his touch. Then I packed an overnight bag and headed to Liz's. She opened the door with a glass of wine in hand. You look like you need this more than I do. I took the glass and drained half of it in one gulp. That bad, huh? She led me to her living room, where Krista sat surrounded by papers. I've got everything you asked for, Krista said, handing me a folder. Guest list, schedule, security details. I flipped through the pages, my resolve strengthening with each detail. This is perfect. Chelsea, Krista said hesitantly. Are you sure about this? It's not too late to just confront him privately. And let him spin more lies? I shook my head. He needs to face what he's done, publicly, the way he was planning to humiliate me publicly. I get that, but he's been living a double life, Krista, sleeping with Meredith while planning a wedding with me, letting me believe in a future that was never going to happen. My voice cracked. Do you know what that feels like? To realize your entire relationship was a lie? Krista looked away. No, I don't. I'm not just doing this for revenge, I continued, softer now. I'm doing it because he shouldn't get to walk away from this unscathed. He shouldn't get to be the good guy who everyone congratulates on his new engagement while I'm left picking up the pieces. Liz squeezed my shoulder. We're with you, whatever you need. We spent the next hour finalizing our plan. It was simple but effective. I would attend the party uninvited, wait for Greg's big announcement, and then make one of my own. What about after? Krista asked. Have you thought about that part? I hadn't. In my mind, the plan ended with Greg's public humiliation. I hadn't considered the aftermath, where I would go, what I would do. I'll figure it out, I said, but uncertainty crept in. Was I really ready to blow up my entire life? As if reading my thoughts, Liz said, "You can stay with me as long as you need. We'll get through this together." My phone buzzed with a text from Greg. "Working late, don't wait up, love you." The casual "love you" made me want to scream. How many times had he sent the same text to Meredith? As I stared at the message, another text came through from Paisley. "We need to talk again. There's something you should know before you do anything." I showed the text to Liz. "What do you think?" "Could be a trap," she said. "Maybe Greg suspects something and put her up to it. Or maybe she knows something important." I typed back to Paisley. "When and where?" Her response was immediate. "Now, the park bench near the fountain." I grabbed my jacket. "I have to go." "Want me to come with you?" Liz asked. "No, I need to do this alone." The park was quiet at this hour, just a few joggers and dog walkers. Paisley sat alone on the bench, her face pale in the fading light. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat beside her. "What's this about, Paisley?" She took a deep breath. "I lied to you earlier, about Greg and me. It wasn't years ago. We were together 6 months ago." The world tilted sideways. 6 months ago? We were already engaged then. Paisley nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "It was just once. He said he was confused, having doubts." "And Meredith?" "Started after me, as far as I know." She wiped at her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Chelsea. I should have told you sooner." I sat in stunned silence, absorbing this new betrayal. Not just one affair, but 2, maybe more. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally asked. "Because whatever you're planning, you should know exactly who you're dealing with." Paisley met my eyes. "And because I want to help." "Help how?" I asked Paisley, unable to keep the skepticism from my voice. "You've been lying to me for months. Why should I trust you now?" She flinched but held my gaze. "Because I know things about Greg that could help you, and because I'm tired of being part of his games." The evening air felt suddenly colder. A jogger passed us, breath fogging in the twilight. "What kind of things?" "Evidence," Paisley said. "Texts, emails, things he said when he thought no one was keeping score." She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a conversation. "Like this." I took the phone, my hand surprisingly steady. The texts were dated 3 weeks ago. "Greg, Chelsea's talking about cake flavors again. Kill me." Paisley, "Just tell her the truth already, Greg. Not yet. Need to wait until after the merger announcement. Too much riding on this." Paisley, "It's cruel to keep stringing her along, Greg. It's temporary. I'll break it off after the 15th. Clean slate with Meredith." I handed the phone back, a strange calm settling over me. "You have more of these?" Paisley nodded. "Lots. He's been planning this for months, breaking up with you right after the party. He just didn't want the drama to interfere with his big moment." "And Meredith knows about me?" "Yes. Greg told her you were already broken up, just living together until you found a new place." Paisley's voice softened. "I'm sorry, Chelsea. I should have said something sooner." "Why didn't you?" She looked away. "Because I'm a coward. Because part of me still hoped." She trailed off. "That he'd choose you instead." I finished for her. Paisley nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Pathetic, right? Even knowing what kind of man he really is. I should have hated her. She'd betrayed me almost as much as Greg had. But looking at her tear-streaked face, I felt an unexpected kinship. We were both victims of the same man's manipulation. "What are you planning to do?" she asked. I hesitated. Could I trust her, or was this another trap? "I'm going to the party," I said finally. "Beyond that, I'm still figuring things out." "Let me help," she said, wiping her tears. "Whatever you're planning, I want in." "Why would you do that?" "Because he deserves it, and because maybe it'll help me finally get over him." I studied her face, searching for deception. Finding none, I nodded. "Come to Liz's tomorrow at noon. We'll talk then." Back at Liz's apartment, I found her and Krista still strategizing. They looked up when I entered. "What did Paisley want?" Liz asked. I told them everything, the affair with Greg, the texts, her offer to help. "You can't trust her," Liz said immediately. "This could be a setup." "I saw the texts," I countered. "They were real." "She could have faked them," Krista suggested. "Or maybe Greg knows you're onto him and they're working together to find out what you know." The possibility hadn't occurred to me. "You think Greg suspects something?" "You've been acting different," Krista pointed out. "Staying away from home, not wearing your ring. He'd have to be completely oblivious not to notice." My phone buzzed with a text from Greg. "Are you coming home tonight? We need to talk." My heart raced. Had I been too obvious? Had he somehow discovered my plan? "What do I do?" I showed them the text. "Go home," Liz said after a moment. "Act normal. If he suspects something, you need to throw him off the scent." "I don't know if I can face him without falling apart." "You can," Krista said firmly. "You're stronger than you think." An hour later, I walked into our apartment. Greg sat on the couch, a glass of scotch in hand. He looked up when I entered, his expression unreadable. "Hey," I said, aiming for casual. "Sorry I'm late. Liz needed help with some work stuff." "Sit down," he said, patting the spot beside him. "We need to talk." I sat, leaving space between us, my heart hammering. "What's up?" "I've been thinking about us," he began, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "About the wedding." This was it. He was going to end it. All my plans for the party would be for nothing. "What about it?" I managed to ask. "I think we should postpone." "Not cancel. Postpone." He was still playing the game. "Postpone?" I repeated, trying to sound surprised rather than furious. "Just for a few months," he said, reaching for my hand. I let him take it, fighting the urge to pull away. "With the merger happening, work is insane right now. I can't give our wedding the attention it deserves." I nodded slowly, as if considering his words. "I see. You're not upset?" I forced a smile. "Of course I'm disappointed, but I want our day to be perfect. If that means waiting, then we wait." Relief washed over his face. He hadn't expected it to be this easy. "You're amazing," he said, leaning in to kiss me. "Most women would be freaking out." I kissed him back, tasting the scotch on his lips, imagining they were Meredith's just hours earlier. "I'm not most women." "No, you're not." He smiled, pulling me closer. "That's why I love you." The lie hung between us, almost tangible in its audacity. Later, lying beside him in bed, listening to his steady breathing, I made my final decision. No more doubts, no more hesitation. Greg had made his choice, and now I was making mine. I slipped out of bed and texted Liz, "I'm all in. Let's make him regret the day he ever thought he could play me." Then I texted Paisley, "Noon tomorrow. Bring everything you have." The party was 3 days away. Just enough time to ensure it would be a night Greg Harvey would never forget. The Westbrook Hotel's grand ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and success. Men in tuxedos and women in cocktail dresses mingled, champagne flutes catching the light as they clinked in celebration. From my position near the service entrance, I could see everything, including Greg at the center of it all, Meredith by his side in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Are you sure about this?" Liz whispered beside me, adjusting the lapel of her borrowed catering uniform. We'd slipped in with the staff thanks to Krista's connection with the event coordinator. "I've never been more sure of anything," I said, though my hands trembled slightly as I straightened my own uniform. The past 3 days had been a blur of planning and pretending, playing the understanding fiancé while secretly preparing for tonight. Greg had been so wrapped up in the merger that he barely noticed my distraction, my frequent absences. The missing engagement ring I claimed was still being cleaned. "There's Paisley." Liz nodded toward the bar where Paisley stood in a sleek black dress, looking nervous but determined. She caught my eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. Everything was set. "It's almost time," I said, checking my watch. 9:30. 15 minutes until Greg's speech and his special announcement. Liz squeezed my arm. "You don't have to go through with this. We could leave right now, and you could confront him privately tomorrow." For a moment, I wavered. Was I really going to do this? Publicly expose Greg and humiliate not just him, but myself? Everyone would know I'd been played for a fool. Then I saw him laugh at something Meredith said, his hand resting possessively on her lower back, the same way it had rested on mine countless times. The same practiced gesture, the same practiced smile. "No," I said firmly, "he doesn't get to walk away from this clean." At 9:40, Roland tapped a knife against his glass, calling for attention. The crowd quieted as he introduced Greg, applauding as my fiancé, no, my ex-fiancé, took the small stage at the front of the room. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Greg began, his voice confident, practiced. "This merger represents not just a business achievement, but a personal one as well." I moved closer, weaving through the crowd, Liz right behind me. Paisley caught my eye from across the room and began moving toward the stage from the opposite direction. "As many of you know, the past year has been transformative for me," Greg continued. "And tonight, I want to share something special with all of you." My heart pounded so loudly, I was sure everyone could hear it. This was it. "Before I do that, I want to thank someone who's been instrumental in making this merger happen." Greg smiled, turning slightly. "Meredith, would you join me up here?" Meredith looked surprised, but pleased as she made her way to the stage. The crowd murmured appreciatively. She was beautiful, I had to admit. Tall, elegant, confident. Meredith joined our firm just 8 months ago, but in that time, she's become indispensable, Greg said, taking her hand, both professionally and personally. A knowing chuckle rippled through the crowd. This wasn't news to them. They'd all been in on it. I stepped forward, my catering uniform allowing me to move through the crowd unnoticed. 20 feet from the stage now. 15. "In fact," Greg continued, reaching into his pocket, "I can't imagine my future without her." The crowd gasped as he pulled out a small velvet box. Meredith's hand flew to her mouth in what looked like genuine surprise. 10 feet from the stage. "Meredith," Greg said, dropping to one knee, "will you—" "Interesting proposal, Greg," I said loudly, stepping into the open space before the stage, "especially considering you're already engaged." The room went silent. Every head turned toward me. Greg froze, still on one knee, the ring box open in his hand. His face drained of color as he recognized me. "Chelsea," his voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "I came to celebrate," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Your merger, your engagement, your extraordinary talent for living a double life." Meredith looked from Greg to me, confusion giving way to understanding. "Your Chelsea, his ex-fiancé? Ex?" I raised my eyebrows. That's news to me. As of this morning, we were still very much engaged, still sharing an apartment, still planning our wedding. I turned to the crowd. Or at least, I was planning a wedding. Greg was planning this. Murmurs swept through the room. Greg stood, closing the ring box, his expression hardening. This isn't the place, Chelsea. No. I stepped closer to the stage. Funny, you seemed perfectly comfortable making your announcement here, in front of all these people, on what was supposed to be our wedding date. Gasps and whispers now. Meredith stepped back from Greg, her face a mask of humiliation. You told me you broke up months ago, she said to Greg, her voice tight with anger. He told me we were postponing the wedding because of work stress, I countered. Turns out he's been lying to both of us. Greg's face flushed with anger. That's enough, Chelsea. You're making a scene. A scene? I laughed, the sound brittle even to my own ears. You haven't seen a scene yet. I nodded to Paisley, who stepped forward from the other side of the room. Greg's been playing us all, she said, her voice carrying across the now silent ballroom. He was with me 6 months ago, while engaged to Chelsea. Then he moved on to Meredith, while still planning a wedding with Chelsea. Roland stepped forward, confusion on his face. Greg, what the hell is going on? Greg's composure cracked. This is ridiculous. You're all overreacting. I was going to end things with Chelsea after tonight. I just didn't want to deal with the drama before the merger. The drama, I repeated, my voice ice cold. That's what our 3-year relationship was to you? Drama to be managed? I turned to face the crowd, making eye contact with as many people as I could. I came here tonight not just to expose Greg, but to reclaim my dignity. I wanted you all to know that I wasn't some pathetic, clueless girlfriend. I knew, and I refused to let him control the narrative any longer. The room was utterly silent now, all eyes on me. So congratulations on your merger, Greg, and good luck with your next engagement. I'm sure it will be as meaningful and honest as ours was. With that, I turned and walked toward the exit, head high, heart pounding. Behind me, I heard the eruption of voices, Meredith's angry accusations, Greg's desperate attempts to explain. I didn't look back. The night air hit my face as I pushed through the hotel's revolving doors, cool and clarifying after the stifling tension of the ballroom. My legs carried me across the marble-floored lobby and out to the fountain plaza, where water danced and sparkled under carefully positioned lights. I sat on the fountain's edge, suddenly aware of my racing heart, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I'd done it. After days of planning, of pretending, of swallowing my rage, I'd finally exposed Greg for what he was. So why didn't I feel better? Chelsea! I looked up to see Liz hurrying toward me, still in her catering uniform, concern etched across her face. Are you okay? She asked, sitting beside me. I don't know, I admitted. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just feel empty. You were amazing in there, she said. You should have seen Greg's face after you left. Meredith threw the ring at him and stormed out. Half the room followed her. The other half just stood there staring at him like he'd grown a second head. I should have felt satisfaction at that image. Instead, I felt a strange pang of sympathy. Not for Greg, never for Greg, but for the life I'd thought we had. The future I'd planned. All of it gone, exposed as a mirage. What happens now? I asked, more to myself than to Liz. Before she could answer, the hotel doors opened again. Paisley emerged, followed by Roland and Krista. They spotted us and walked over. That was quite a show, Roland said, loosening his tie. I had no idea, Chelsea. None of us did. I think some of you did, I said, not unkindly. You just looked the other way. He had the grace to look ashamed. Maybe. I'm sorry. Paisley sat on my other side. Greg's still in there, trying to salvage what's left of his reputation. It's not going well. Good, Liz said firmly. Is it, though? I looked at each of them. Will humiliating Greg change anything? Will it undo what he did? Will it make me feel whole again? Maybe not, Krista said gently, but it stopped him from hurting Meredith the way he hurt you. And it showed him he can't treat people like disposable props in his life. She was right, I realized. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about breaking a pattern, about refusing to be silenced or erased. The hotel doors opened again. This time, Greg emerged, his face flushed, tie askew. He spotted our group and hesitated before walking over, stopping a few feet away. "Come to finish what you started?" he asked, his voice tight with anger. "I think you finished it yourself," I replied calmly. "Long before tonight. You had no right to ambush me like that, to ruin everything I've worked for. Like you were planning to ambush me after the party?" I stood to face him. "With a breakup you'd been planning for months while I was still picking out wedding flowers?" He flinched. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." I stepped closer. "You know what your mistake was, Greg? Not the cheating, not even the lies. It was underestimating me, thinking I was too naive, too trusting, too in love with you to ever see through your facade. I did love you," he said, his voice dropping. "At the beginning, I just fell out of love. Then you should have told me, given me the dignity of the truth, and you would have accepted that? Just walked away quietly?" The question caught me off guard. Would I have? Or would I have fought, pleaded, tried to change his mind? "I'll never know," I said finally, "because you never gave me the chance to find out." Greg looked at the group surrounding me, Liz, Paisley, Roland, Krista, people who had chosen to stand with me rather than him. "So what now?" he asked. "You've had your revenge, destroyed my relationship with Meredith, humiliated me in front of everyone who matters. Are you satisfied?" I considered the question seriously. "No," I said, "I'm not satisfied, but I am free. Free of the lies, free of the doubt, free of wondering what I did wrong or how I could fix it." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my keys, removing the one to our apartment. I held it out to him. "I'll be by tomorrow to get my things," I said. "After that, we never need to see each other again." He took the key, his fingers brushing mine for the last time. "For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not for tonight, but for everything else." "I know," I said, surprising myself with the realization that I believed him. "But it doesn't change anything." Greg nodded once, then turned and walked away, shoulders slumped, looking smaller somehow than the man I'd thought I knew. "Come on," Liz said, linking her arm through mine. "Let's get out of here." As we walked toward the street, Paisley fell into step beside me. "What will you do now?" "I don't know yet," I admitted, "but for the first time in a long time, that feels okay." We reached the sidewalk, the night spread out before us, full of possibilities I hadn't allowed myself to consider while trapped in Greg's web of lies. "You know what I want right now?" I said suddenly. "Pancakes from that 24-hour diner on 7th. Liz laughed. "Pancakes it is." As we walked, I felt something shift inside me. Not healing, not yet, but the beginning of it. The first step on a path that was entirely my own. "You're going to be okay," Krista said, as if reading my thoughts. I looked up at the night sky, at the stars barely visible through the city lights. "I know," I said. "I already am." And in that moment, standing on the sidewalk with people who had seen me at my worst and still stood by me, I realized it was true. The pain wasn't gone, the betrayal still fresh. But beneath it all was something stronger. The knowledge that I had faced the truth and survived it. that I had refused to be a footnote in someone else's story. I had reclaimed my own.